What's up, folks? Welcome back. Or let's see, we're being welcome back. So,
Yeah.
You know, it's been a little while. So
That's right. This is Vigilantly Orthodox, episode 5.
we're doing our best to be vigilant. We were vigilantly working on some other projects.
That's right.
But we're good to be back. It's good to be back. So on our agenda today, folks, we'd love to chat about what the good reader's been up to, what I've been up to. He's busy in school, family life and stuff. I had a quick pilgrimage over to the Balkans and Athos, Thessaloniki, Thessalonica,
Thessalonica.
Yeah, whichever way you want to pronounce it. We're always fixing my pronunciation. And then, so we'll chat a little bit about the saints that, I got some icons here, St. Pantaleon and St. Basil of Ostrog. So we'll chat a little bit about them. We also had the Dormition.
Yes. Yeah.
Big deal.
Absolutely.
Which is also my birthday. So people will not, my old birthday.
Yeah. Right.
Right. What's still my real name, dead name. Right. Jeff, let's see, 13/7, November 21st now. Right. Archangels.
Yeah. Right.
7th, 8th. Yeah. I'm doing old calendar, new calendar.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's technically November 8th.
Well, let's see. It's 13 days after whatever it is on the.
Yeah. And we do it on the 21st.
Yeah.
But it's still, you know what I'm saying? I still get that when I open up my, I told you I have the book with the readings of the day. I'm like, okay, I got to go back 13 days.
Right.
Well, actually, ours is correct. This is what confused the heck out of me. Because I also, off of Orthodox Ethos, I ordered their calendar.
Right.
And then they have like today's date and then the last date. And then we have like, in that, the dates are right. So the reading is on the correct day, which is actually the wrong day.
Yes.
Does that make sense? So like on September 1st, we have the reading from August 18th.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
yes.
Sorry, old calendar, new calendar stuff too.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is. It makes your brain work.
Revised Julian. Yeah.
Right.
Good
stuff.
So
for those of you, August 28th, which is August 15th, is the Dormition. I was born on August 28th. So that was the old calendar.
Yeah.
Which is also funny is the repose of St. Joseph Hesychast.
Yes.
Which I goofed up on that. I should have been on Athos. I was there when I needed to be. But it's funny because I left and I knew some people from Greece and they're like, oh, we're going to, the Dormition. I think I left on August like 11th or 12th.
Yeah.
So that would have been cool to be in Greece because that's the other thing that's weird, right? Their new calendar, Athos' old calendar.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Very interesting.
And then you also want to talk about the commemoration books.
Yes. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So hopefully we will have some fun today. Now, do you want to fill people in on school and everything? What you've been anything interesting that you've picked up recently? Always.
Well, I recently finished a course on liturgics taught by Reader Alexander from Jordanville, and he also is goes back and forth between America and Russia.
Cool.
He's a PhD in this stuff, a very brilliant guy. It was an honor learning under him. But I learned a lot. I recommend anybody who has even like a passing curiosity in just why the church services are structured the way they are, or like how come we have like Vespers and Vigil, and how come some churches do Vespers and then the next morning they do Matins, and how come?
Can I ask you those questions? So as when a newbie comes, I was so confused.
Yeah.
Right. So I was baptized in the Ethiopian church.
Sure.
And they even come. Okay. So I'm like, okay, we have regular Vespers, we have great Vespers, we have Orthos, we have Visual.
Yeah.
Like, could you kind of walk through the differences?
Sure.
Right. Matins.
Yeah. And we can dive into that. This will be a little teaser because I think we should cover your trip first. But like the quick thing, and this I find so fascinating is, so there used to be basically 3 main liturgical gatherings every day in the old world, right?
Okay.
This is, and then the 2 main things that impacted this and shook it all up. One is the like popularization of using electricity for lighting.
Okay.
That, and I know you might find that kind of funny. Like, how does that impact church services? We'll talk about that. And then the other one is the advent of people eating breakfast right in the morning. That's something that most people in the ancient world didn't really do. Like, that's again kind of
that was Kellogg's, right? Kellogg's. Break the fast. Make sure that you eat the I forget what was his grain altering testosterone fertility killing thing. Have you heard that about Kellogg?
A little bit.
He was a whole like Puritan thing, and he's like, if we won't get too much in the controversy of carbohydrates and that, but that there's conspiracy
phytoestrogens.
He's like, hey, just they've said that kind of bread and circus which has been
Mhm.
argued against with the gladiators, right? They're like, how
Right.
did they live off of bread? And we have
Mhm.
monks that live off bread
Sure.
versus modern thinking is like, make sure you get your protein.
Yeah.
But Kellogg, man, that's a whole. Have you?
Yeah, I've heard a little
Okay.
bit about
Yeah,
that. You'll have to talk to it because you
maybe smell
that's
it, yeah.
more of intersects with your world quite
Sure.
a bit. Yeah. But the thing that's interesting, so you used to have and this you'll know because you grew up like very rural and like on farms and stuff. Like how early normally do like farm people get up?
With the sun.
Yeah.
I think, right?
If not even before, like
yeah.
4 a.m.
Whenever the
basically.
rooster, yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, what used to happen is the church day, and this again, ancient thing, starts the night before.
Yeah.
So, and this is something interesting whenever, like in my training as in liturgics, any liturgist or canonarch, the person who puts together the services, whenever it's like, I got to make the services for this day, you start doing the evening services for the day before, because that's the preparation for that next day. So, what it used to be is you would have the evening gathering, and so that would be, you'd have the hours like the 6th and 9th hour, then you would have there's this meal for the Mother of God, and then you would have after the 6th
and do you know, so is the 6th and the 9th hour tied to like
from
6 p.m. like
it's from the sunrise? So the first hour is the hour that the sun comes up. It's that thing that is like,
I was going to ask you this because one of the things people who like trying to debunk the gospels, have you heard this?
Right, with
the canonical
Christ,
right?
yeah.
John is Greek,
mm-hmm.
and then the Matthew, Mark, and Luke, the times are slightly different during the crucifixion, and right. And I think the Greeks and the Hebrews probably had different,
the way they count is different, right? Because you would have when someone says like the first Sunday of Pascha, that is the day of Pascha by the Greek numbering. But then if you're saying it like I'm gonna get this.
No, that's just like when you travel, their first floor, I think, is the second floor, or ours is, right? When
we have a ground floor, then the first floor, second floor.
So I was like, okay, I'm on the third floor, and then I hit the I went to the second.
Right. Whatever.
I was backwards.
Right. Yes. It's kind of funny. Like you see this in even just in Europe versus the US. But a lot of, and you see, this is kind of a tricky thing, even with the liturgical calendar, because you'll see most of the time a date, like it's this Sunday after Pentecost, right?
Like first Sunday after Pentecost,
which by the Greek numbering would be, that is Pentecost. The first Sunday of Pentecost is the day.
It's like 0 and 1,
right? Yeah, exactly. Like I'm a programmer, so when you count, the first number isn't 1, it's 0, right? So, but then kind of the modern thing is we'll say, well, the first Sunday would be the Sunday after, because we count like
the first century, 0 to 100. Can't stand that.
Yeah,
like 16th century. I'm like 1700, and then I'm dyslexic, so I always go like
the other direction.
16th century, 1500.
Yes. -1.
Yes.
Right. So that's always kind of interesting. But so that factors into things when we're talking about the hours. So normally, like the 6th hour is noon.
Okay.
And this is a quick little funny thing, is the word noon, what that comes from is like the Latin word for 9. Noon, which is funny.
Noon. Okay.
Yeah. Because and this is why and it's like, well, then why do you say the 9th hour? And this is a funny thing. So normally in monasteries, you weren't supposed to ever break the fast, have anything to eat until the 9th hour. So that would be like 3 p.m. Right? 9 hours after sunrise. And so the fact is, though, with Western clergy, and not just trying to knock them, but they were getting lazy. And so they would start to call, they would say, oh, it's the 9th hour at noon, which is really the 6th hour.
Sun came up at 3.
Yeah. So they didn't want to fast all the way until 3. So they would eat at noon at 9, even though it's at the 12th, or like the middle of the day, the 6th hour.
To us, noon would be 6. They're saying they're supposed to wait till 9. They're technically going to eat. They're moving noon to 9.
Yeah. Moving noon from 3 p.m.
to noon
to 12 o'clock. And so that's funny, because now
that's helpful, because I used to think, well, the 9th hours, I thought like 9 p.m.
Right.
Because we have the first hours, the 6th hour, like first, third, 6th, 9.
Yeah. First, third, it's like every other. So it's first hour, third hour, 6th hour, 9th hour.
Okay.
And so the 9th hour is the 9th hour after sunrise. So that's also
3 p.m.
roughly. depending on the time of year, because you could have in the winter,
Well,
it's probably dark again by then. But and that's why, like, you have on Athos and stuff, how they'd still, a lot of monasteries still use the Byzantine clock, where it starts at 1 once the sun comes up. So that's kind of interesting. But because you have the liturgical assemblies, you usually, instead of like at a really strict monastery, you'd probably have each of the hours at the actual time. But often what happens is, when you have a liturgical assembly, like the lay people would show up at, it's like, okay, let's catch up with all the services you haven't done yet.
We do that, right? We do the third and the 6th hour before liturgy.
Exactly, right. Okay. Because it would be, and that's you would have the evening assembly, which will be, that's where you've got your 3rd and 6th hour, or sorry, your 6th and 9th hour, and Vespers. And
so Vespers technically means evening. This was, I think, confused me.
Right.
But like from a Western perspective, so we think, evening prayers, right, would be, I'd almost think nighttime.
Right.
Right. And what's interesting is, so then matins is technically morning.
Morning. Orthros is the Greek word for it. But matins is the Latin word for it, but the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and it's funny because, right, how many times, and then we do visual.
Yeah.
So I'll let you continue, because, right, complete our morning prayers to the Lord. You're like,
but it's
9 p.m.
Yeah, exactly.
PM, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of interesting, because this is where things get all mucked up, because before electricity, people would go to bed when the sun goes down, because it's actually really hard to like stay awake, and that you only have candles and firelight, right? And so you could light a lantern and like set it on your desk in your house, and like try to write by candlelight.
Midnight oil.
Yeah, literally burn midnight oil lamps, all this stuff. But it's like it would take effort. And then of course we didn't have any blue light stuff screwing up our circadian rhythm. So you would naturally get really sleepy. And so people would go to bed at like 9 p.m. or probably even earlier than that, whenever the sun goes down. And then they would naturally, because you'd get your full night of sleep, you'd wake up probably around 4 a.m. or 3 a.m, something like that. And especially if you're a rural peasant, like village, everyone's getting up before the heat of the day to be like, let's get all our work done. So you'd have that evening assembly, and so you have the hours, you'd have the meal for the Mother of God. They sometimes just call it like the Panagia meal, and that's where all the monks would have their evening meal. That's their time. And then you do the Vespers service, and then everyone goes home. And
I've seen it different, a lot of and I could be getting this completely wrong, but it seems like they would do, sometimes there'd be an afternoon prayer kind of thing, but a lot of times like Vespers at like 3, 4, 5 o'clock.
It was earlier than what we do now.
And then they do a meal. And then we would do sometimes just a comp line and just something kind of after. Where it's just it's a pretty, I think that's pretty standard at most, right? It's like some service, food, some service, bed.
Yep. And I totally spaced mentioning comp line, because you do the hours, the Vespers, the meal, comp line. And then
comp line,
it's short.
Does it stand for anything? Do you know like what it means?
That's a great question. I actually didn't even look into that.
Just
you have great
like 15,
comp line.
20 minutes.
Right. It's some prayers and some canon like readings.
But sometimes they did longer. I mean, I guess it just depends if there's a feast or what time we're on. Like,
And that is so much like all of the midterms and tests and things in this liturgics class, where he would give us a historical date, like usually like 10 years ago, and be like, here's this date. Look at it from the old calendar. So it's not going to be the date you think it is. And then put together the full set of services for that day. So you've got to, and then you've got to check, okay, is this the forefeast of something? Because then I've got to pull from the Meneon and get those canons and those different Irmoi and hymns and Troparion in there. But then how does that match up with like the rank of that saint that's commemorated that day? And
you have saint rankings per day, right? Who's the
vigil rank is the highest, and you have like Polyaleos, and then the simple,
and then what's the rule with like Saint George? His feast gets moved all the time because of Pascha, right?
Yes.
You know, remember that? But I forget what he's April 20. I could be wrong. April.
I don't think if it's April, because Pascha never falls.
I'm just saying because of the Lent or Pascha, right? I think there's a rule that it's like if he falls on one or the other, then someone else takes precedence, right? If it's like a Lenten saint, Mary of Egypt, or
if it's one of the Sundays of Lent, because those are you're never going to override one of those. The only times you can run into that where it actually does affect things is if it's a feast for the Mother of God, which would be the Annunciation, right? The
Ours,
Evangelion.
I think April 23rd.
Yeah.
Which that's kind of flip flop.
Yeah.
Right. That's right on that thing. And then
and so
right, I think there's a special rule with him where it's like, well, usually we do it on this day, and then if it's during Lent and it falls on a certain day, then we have to do it.
We push it out into Bright Week usually.
That's it.
That's another common thing, is that if something trumps a certain saint, you usually don't want to just forget that saint entirely, and sometimes if they're a minor enough saint, it's like, all right, maybe we try to add like one of their Traparia in there, or Traparia, but other than that, like that saint will kind of be deprioritized because other things. But if you have a great saint like St. George, it's like, we're not going to skip him. So what we're going to do is move his celebration further down. So there's a lot of really weird, like,
well, that even St. Joseph the Hesychast reposed on Dormition.
Right.
Sorry, this is the Mother of God's day.
Right? Yeah, right. Sorry, St.
Joseph,
you are a big deal, but Mother of God's the biggest deal. So his, you would normally like commemorate him the day after or something because of that. And I'm not like, that's been given me such an appreciation for how much work goes into putting every service together, because it's not just a simple rubric. There's so many exceptions and movable things, because the other factor at play is, what is your temple, meaning the parish that you go to, what is it dedicated to? Because if it's dedicated to like Christ or the cross or something like that, then that shakes up how you deprioritize different things. Then same with, especially like, let's say you have a parish that's commemorated commemorated to a relatively minor saint, but it's a big deal for that temple. So you would normally, if he would get deprioritized, it's like, well, this is the parish feast day. So what happens if your parish feast falls on another like holy day? So then you've got to figure out how you handle that. And there is thankfully flexibility. You can do things, and even your rector can say, like, we're going to do it this way. So then the canonarch has to figure out how to shuffle everything so that nothing gets overlooked. So then that would usually be, we're going to push things forward or backwards, depending on what makes the most sense. Because, you can push things forward, but if they're going to bump into other things, like maybe it makes more sense to actually commemorate them the day before. It's really complex. But
I'm trying to think, with us, St. Seraphim's Day, we have two, right?
Yeah, he has two two. He has one in August and one in January, because there's the uncovering of his relics and then his repose. So which that's all. You have saints like that have multiple feast days. Then you usually want to pick, like, okay, well, which one is the one that our parish treats as our parish feast day? But still, you wouldn't just say, then we ignore the other one. So it gets really interesting juggling all of that. So it's very complex. I'm very thankful to have gone through that course. It was extremely humbling. It was one of those things that taught me, like, I've learned a lot, and I realized how much more I have to learn.
Well, and then maybe we can just, before moving on, we can just break down. So I'll kind of spit what I know, and then you correct me, right?
Sure.
So the easier way is to think of it. So Vespers is evening. And is that, do you know if is that Greek, or what is that term?
I think Vespers probably, but it might be Latin as well, because that's that weird thing where we use the term matins a lot, which is the Latin word for it. But orthros is the Greek word for it. But the Greeks still use the word Vespers. So, and you have a couple of those Greek words that are also the same in Latin, because Latin just took the Greek words. Like even in Latin Mass, they often will say Kyrie eleison instead of the Latin way to say that, which would be I know it. Hang on, because it's miserere e Deus, which is like, have mercy on me, O Lord, right? So Kyrie eleison is Lord have mercy. Miserere me Deus is Lord have mercy in Latin. But they usually say Kyrie eleison instead, because that's the Greek way to say it.
Because they were all Roman.
Spoiler, like Greeks were Romans before the I don't know. That gets Eastern Roman Empire. Very interesting stuff. They're not. Byzantine is a pejorative term that these pesky German historians in the 1800s decided to start slandering the Byzantine.
So, and it
Eastern
was
Roman Empire.
Constantinople was Byzantium. That was the city that St. Andrew, right? Was that technically the name of the city before it became Constantinople?
I don't think so. I think, well, so it was called something else before Constantinople. If it was called Byzantium, I don't think so, because the term Byzantium literally means like dastardly complicated. It's that thing where you can say like, oh, the American legal system is very Byzantine, which means there's all these weird loopholes and graft going on and blah blah blah. Not to get political, I've just picked a random thing. We could say, how about this, like buying a house is like annoyingly Byzantine, meaning it's overly complicated in ways that there's all these weird loopholes and weird things that can kind of backstab you if you're not careful. But you gotta use the AI. But yeah, while you're looking that up, let me talk briefly about
Vespers, Ortho, like if you can walk me through that.
Yeah. So you've got your 3 liturgical assemblies. First one in the evening, you've got the hours, you got Vespers, you got Compline, you got your meal. Then everyone goes to bed. They come back to church usually around 4 a.m. And that's when you would do the second, technically second of the day liturgical assembly. That's where you would do the morning hours, so the first and third hours, and you would do matins or orthros, right? And then let me see, I feel like I'm forgetting another one of the minor services there, but then that would be your morning assembly. Everyone would go do that, then go back home and either go to bed or start working you'd probably not go to bed at that point, because you'd be done at like 6 a.m. or so, maybe like 7. And at that point you go do some work. And then you actually don't have your liturgical assembly in the middle of the day for liturgy until like 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
You said 6th, 9th hour.
Yeah. Right. And so then that's where you would have, okay, now we're going to do like, the 6th and 9th hour, or sorry, that's in the evening. The 9th hour and Vespers and all that. So I think it's, you do, boy, I'm already failing. But it's like 6th hour and you do liturgy. And then after that, that's the big central assembly of the day. Then everyone actually eats for the first time that day. Right. Okay. And that would be around the 9th hour, meaning 3 p.m. Right. Okay.
So how does that work for a catechumen who comes in and I go, okay, I have a service, and you say Vespers or Orthos, right? So we, right, in the like, what's like, maybe we can walk that through our typical schedule.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is where to really appreciate this, I'll have to throw in, this is why electricity screwed so much stuff up, is because of electricity, people stay up way later than they used to in the ancient days. Okay. And that, because of that means they don't get up until, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning. And I know some people sleep in even more than that, but yeah, it's this thing like back in the day, like, not to pick on anyone in particular, but like what time of night do you usually get to bed nowadays?
Me, like 11.
Yeah. Which would be like crazy late for an ancient person. They'd be like, why, how are you even awake? Yep. But because of lights and electricity. And then of course now with screens and blue light and all this stuff, like we can stay up way late. Some people don't go to bed till like
midnight.
Honestly,
I'll be midnight. It's not rare for me at all.
Yeah,
common. It can be 1 sometimes. We're like, what am I still doing?
Go to bed. Yeah. And then because of that, then nobody shows up for liturgical assemblies at 4 in the morning for matins and stuff, even the priest, because of staying up late. And then with that, it's like, okay, so then you would have to do like your matins in the morning at like 9 in the morning, and with that, matins is a long service if you're doing it the way it's supposed to go, because it's at least, the matins service is you have all your Lord, that's Vespers. You have all of your like praises and this the canon, and you have all of this stuff. Like the Vespers service normally, I'll talk about what the all night vigil that we do, which is not actually all night because we don't do everything. Some monasteries still.
We did one for St. Pantaleimon.
You did an all night vigil.
Well, it's 9 p.m. We're done at 4:30 a.m.
Yeah,
and I think it was a short one, because I think the one they said for St. Anne was like 6 to 6. 12 hour. I think a 9. Like, we might go 9.
Yeah, and you had that where a lot of monks, like especially like Athonites, they would actually do these all night vigils. And that's why you see, if you go to like a monastic cathedral or even just a monastic parish that has those little booths.
I love the chairs,
lining the walls.
bro. I was telling
Yeah.
it's kind of like if I were a warrior for Christ, this is my steed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, give me my prayer rope.
Uh-huh.
Let's go.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
riding into battle. It's
Mhm.
like, and then you could like change positions because the chairs are
Yeah.
technically going to 3.
Right.
You can drop it all the way down,
Mhm.
half standing, sitting.
Right.
And it's like perfect. It has armrests
Yeah.
here, armrests here. They have
Yeah.
footrests. Like
Mhm.
they're
Right.
yeah, they're cool.
And it's to facilitate the all-night vigil.
Yep.
Because you'd have monks. And if anyone is totally unfamiliar with what we're talking about, they're these little booths that are like built into the walls of monastic churches. And they have like these armrests that are almost like armpit level. So you can just
Mhm.
hook yourself there and just hang. And you're standing the whole time, but there's this little seat behind you that you can move into different positions so you can actually sit down.
Yep.
And it was a way to give the monks a way to like stay on their feet throughout, 12-hour service at night when your body is trying to make you fall asleep. And so they'd do the Jesus prayer, or like, and if they're old and achy, like you can actually sit down.
Yep.
And I've heard like even St. Joseph, he would like sit in a chair and then he'd like hit people with a cane if they're falling asleep.
Yeah. And it's fun,
Yeah.
it was funny because
Mhm.
the one visual that I went to, the monk there too even says like, hey, this is all night visual. I'm not expecting you to make it all night. He's like, I'm not going to make it all night. But I'll probably,
Yeah.
and it's just funny. Then it seems kind of like, you kind of have this general idea, and we hear of like St. John Maximovich, like
Mhm.
supposedly he didn't have a bed, right? Like
Right.
he just slept on the
He had a
floor.
chair. And Mhm.
Yeah, or the chair. I've heard they found him in front of the icons,
Mhm.
and you're just like, how does that work?
Mhm.
Like, you get 2 to 3 hours of
Yeah.
sleep in a chair.
Yeah.
And there is this kind of fantasy, and I don't know, we've talked about this in the Synoxarion. There's things like,
Yeah.
and this could 100% be true, but
Mhm.
it's really hard where they're like, Saint so-and-so during Lent would only eat bread
Yeah.
after liturgy on Sunday,
Mhm.
like a
To
little
go
bit.
a week and eat like a tiny amount of
That's it.
bread.
Or
and that's
at
it.
all. Like didn't
Yeah.
eat at all. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And so you hear these things. To give it some proper perspective, I've seen, like, trust me, the monks,
Mhm.
they're struggling. They're like,
Yeah.
okay, I can remember doing,
Yeah.
where are we at? Plenty of
Uh-huh.
times, 20, 30 minutes where I'm like, dude, I cannot do that. You know what I mean? I'm just
Right.
like, but there is something so grace filling to be
Mhm.
there. You know what I mean? And that's what the
Right.
monk told me. He's like, dude, just hang out. And I can
Mhm.
remember I was sitting there, and I don't know how many times, I just
Yeah.
like 20 or 30 minutes. And then you kind of be rejuvenated for a little bit. You're
Yeah.
like, all right,
I can do this.
I got
Yeah,
my
I'm
power
back.
nap in. I can go for another, I don't know,
Uh-huh.
hour and a half
Mhm.
before you're just kind of like,
Dozing again. Yeah.
okay.
And that's something. There's I saw this like clip from some YouTube channel. It's this Catholic guy who talks about medieval stuff. He does okay. He's very Catholic centric, where he kind of ignores the whole Orthodox dimension of things, which is understandable.
Fair
I get
enough.
it. He's a Catholic.
Yeah,
But yeah, he was talking about like Benedictine monks in the Middle Ages, and they have a very, very rigid, like when they would sleep, it's like on the floor, they'd have like a block of wood for their pillow, right? And even then they were only getting a few hours of sleep a night, if that. And then it was funny to see the comments and all these people just like raging about that, of going like, I understand like being dedicated to something, but like not at the cost of getting a good night's sleep. And it's just interesting because we have this modern idea like, well, I need
Health.
that, right? And we think about that, like talking about bread, and like where it's these monks, like monks don't eat meat. Like once you become a monk, you like you swear off, essentially, like you take an oath to not eat flesh meat anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So they can eat fish, but other than that, it's like you don't get red meat or poultry or anything ever again. And there are a couple rare occasions where you'll have a monk that's like dying unless he gets that.
I've heard that.
Yeah,
Even
like
some saints.
Yeah, like Saint Porphyrios, the modern Saint Porphyrios. He did that, where he had to leave Athos because he was dying from bad health, and it's like he needed to eat the foods that they don't even have on Athos because it's all monks there. But yeah, so you have these. That's what economy is about, right? But it's interesting because we're so focused on like, well, I need to hit my macros. I need this much protein. I need this much, these fats and these, like, I can't just live on bread. And it's like, well, a lot of people did for most of history, and the monks did. And the statement is not that this is healthy for your body. It's that this is good for your soul. Right?
What's funny about that is, I think it was Andrew Huberman. He's pretty big, science, science-based podcast for science-based people who want to learn about science and health in the science world.
Yes.
But he did one on faith and God and how good it is for your health to
Right.
kind of have faith. And I just want to put a little comment. I was
Yeah.
like, well, as Christians, like that's important.
Yeah.
It's on our levels of priority, but
Mhm.
how did that work for the apostles?
Right.
Was that good for their health to
Yeah.
become an apostle? St. Pantaleimon, St. Basil, like go down the list, like
all these martyrs and
just in general, like that's and that's just kind of my comment. And it's funny because I don't know, I was chatting about this with my godfather, and I was like, and I wanted to stream with him about it because this is kind of epistemology. That's kind of his place. And I'm like, okay, so you're going to take science and judge God. Like, do you not realize then you're making science your God? Like, if you're going to use a tool to, what do you want to say, judge another, like it's at least outside of it, you're using it to dissect. Like that is what God is. God is the tool, right? Christ is the logos. It's the way we conceptualize, or he judges everything. He can like he is the divine animating principle. Right.
Yeah.
You can't,
and this idea that you can hold a how do I say this? Like a method from the creation and judge the creator based on that is silly.
You're using a thermometer to judge color.
Yeah.
Like this doesn't, but it's just tough. And I get it. And you see this, if you want to talk about the end times, like how does this play out? You're like, well, it's kind of like you slowly usurp, right? This is the religion of the future. This is like the
Father Seraphim talks about that.
Like this idea of molding all these things. Well, like we don't even realize that most people science is their God. For lack of a better term. Like you
might not even know that, but it is.
It is the thing by which you're judging everything else. So what is that? That is your supreme principle, for lack of a better term. And that's where it's even like with morality. It's like your God is at least that. I would say there's something telling you when you wake up in the morning, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that.
Right. Yeah. It's as simple as like, what is the main motivator behind the things you do? And if it really is like, well, I do it for success. Like, okay, you worship mammon.
Yes. Yes.
Or I do it for weird girls, money, like hedonism, whatever it is.
Muscles.
It's like, you want
car,
vanity, travel,
dopamine kicks. Which is funny. Two friends of ours were arguing, and I forget the argument. It's like, one all is about, it's satanic ultimately. It's prideful. Like, Satan gets you to fall in love with yourself.
Yes.
Right. And then these things
Destroy
are all,
yourself.
But it's funny because they were, in my opinion, I'm like, dude, you guys were talking about the same thing. The one angle is like all of these things are because I'm prideful, right? I want money, I want fame, I want, sex, I want drug, all these things.
Yeah.
And the one's like, no, you're actually idolizing those things. It's like, well, you're actually also idolizing yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like you can both at the same time say like, mammon is my idol, but you could also say it's like, well, I'm idolizing myself because the mammon brings me pleasure.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Like if it's even, just sometimes you have both sides of an argument. Both of them are wrong.
Yeah.
They're arguing because of the whole premise of the argument is something that is like you've fallen into that trap. That's why one thing I really try to avoid any kind of debate. And it's not because like, and I don't know, everybody can judge with like, it's not because I'm scared of losing or winning. It's more just like you end up falling into these pits where you're fighting about something that you might like just by dropping down to the level of engaging on this thing and trying to pull in the other direction. You're already losing like by conceding ground that you didn't even really think about conceding. Right. So like part of that would be like how people try to argue that like, well, being a monk and being like giving up everything, giving up fame and all this for the sake of God is good, but you really got to take care of yourself. You need to get enough sleep. It's like, well, then you actually worship yourself, your own health and all this more than God.
That's a pit I fell into. I'm like, when I'm like, I'm going to go be a monk so I can be super holy and do lots of miracles. Like that's what would be best for the world if I was very holy. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Hold on.
I don't think I could do that. I don't think that's how that works. Right. It's like, no, actually those guys were monks because they were so humble, something I still like. It was interesting, like especially being around him and stuff and forgive me for judging because that's how I am. I talk to you. I try and like, okay, what is your incentive? Why are you doing this? Are you really whole? Like, it's just like, sorry, I ooze out judgment as I'm walking around. So there's always just like that dichotomy.
Yeah.
And then the hard thing is with debating is how much one is semantics.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
two, I tried to do this in previous relationships when I'd get in an argument with like my girlfriend at the time. You know, honestly, when we get, I'm like, hey, what is our intention right now? Right.
Yeah.
Right. So let's just say we're arguing about whatever.
Right.
I'm like, my intention is for us to stop arguing. Right.
Mhm.
This is what I think I saw. This is what you think I da da da. But you realize that, and a lot of times in debates, it's like at some point, most people get to the place where they're just trying to win.
Yeah.
And it's like, number one, this is semantics. And two, you don't even care about knowledge at this point. It's just like, I'm going to be right and you're going to be wrong.
Right.
And ultimately, at that point, there's not, you know, and that's unfortunately like a lot of internet debates get there. It's like, you know, in the beginning, like my godfather debated someone. I'm like, hey, the first 20 minutes were great. And after that, it's like, you guys just went in circles for 2 hours because it was semantics and you wanted to beat each other.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
And so, I don't want to knock people who do debate and all that. But yeah, I agree. I think in general, we've talked about this, I think even on our podcast here before, where it's like, maybe like you're obviously not going to convince your opponent of anything. Maybe you'll get like 2% of the audience might change their mind based on how things go. But honestly, I think especially nowadays where everybody just, it's like watching a prize fight or something where even if your guy loses, you're not going to be like, well, I'm not a fan of his anymore. Now you're going to be like, oh, that was bull crap because whatever. And
ref blew the game.
You know, the ref caused problems or he cheated or whatever. Like, and it's just, I just don't like, one of the things I've been doing lately is I've been rereading the book in the Bible, Ecclesiastes, and I've been going through Father Daniel Sasoyev's book, which is called, it's very small. It's called A Sobering Book. So
his father, he was the one that was martyred recently,
2009, where he was murdered in his own parish by a Muslim. And that was really interesting, like how brave he was. Like he knew it was going to happen. He even told he had, you know, his wife and daughters, but he told his oldest daughter, I think, he said, when they kill me, because he just knew it was going to happen. He says, don't cry for me, pray for me. And I love, if you don't know that story, Father Daniel Sasoyev, a young priest. He's younger than me when he was killed. He was 35, right?
Crazy. I have some of his books. And I read, I'm like, what? This guy's younger than me.
He was brilliant. Like from one of those guys that just really young age, really took to things, really, really smart man. And just very pious, unafraid. I love like the story of his martyrdom where because he was in this parish in like, I'm trying to remember if it's Kazakhstan or what, but like it's this area where it's very, very heavy Muslim population. And he would do a lot of polemical work against Islam to try and like show people the truth. And he was not scared of taking the gloves off. Right. He was very, very blunt and effective in his like polemical work, but that made a lot of people very angry. And so one of the things like when his assassin came to kill him, Father Daniel was in the altar hearing a confession, which I'm not sure if there's a different practice of this because, you know, we always do our confessions out in front, and the only confessions that happen in the altar are between clergy. Like if you're a deacon or higher, you kneel in front of the altar and the priest receives your confession there. So it makes me think that's what was happening. He was probably hearing a deacon's confession. I don't actually know. Because maybe there is a thing of like certain Orthodox men can go confess in like a corner of the altar or something, but he was in the altar. So the assassin didn't know where he was, and he came in and he fired a shot. He shot the choir director, didn't kill him, but wounded him. And he yelled like, "Where is Sasoyev?" And Father Daniel gave absolution to the person who was confessing to him. And then he said, "I'm here." And he walked out of the iconostasis, and then the assassin shot him a few times and ran away. And just that kind of courage, especially there were people have pointed out, because Father Daniel's father is also a priest. It was like there were many exits behind the iconostasis. He could have he heard a gunshot and he heard this guy yelling for him. It's like he could have left, snuck out, but instead he went and faced it. So that kind of courage, just no fear.
We have a lot of his right. He did a lot of.
He was very, very prolific. I recommend looking up his stuff. I will warn you, if you read A Sobering Book, which is his book on Ecclesiastes, it's a very potent one. You kind of have to be ready for it because it's going to really gut punch you about the things that you like, kind of what we're talking about, the things you chase in the world, the things that you think matter, because that's what Ecclesiastes, so much of it is about, is none of this matters except God. Like
Mhm.
that's the only thing that lasts. Like, and that
I love it.
nothing new under the sun.
Vanity, vanity,
Vanity
or,
of vanity.
yeah.
All
Depending
is but
on the
vanity.
translation, meaningless, meaningless.
Right.
It's funny
Yeah.
though, because is it second where second Ecclesiastics where he's, the dead know nothing.
Oh yeah.
And they love, there's a certain, there are people who love quoting that.
Yeah.
And see, look, the dead know nothing. Why do you pray to the saints? It's like, did you read the whole book?
Yeah.
Because he's actually lamenting, right?
Yes.
He's like, I make money. Okay. It eventually, someone stupider is going to come. Stupider.
Yeah.
Someone more ignorant will be, he just goes down the list of like, what's the point of life? Nothing.
Yeah.
The dead, they die. They know nothing. This, nihilism.
Right.
Right. And then eventually he comes around into the God of Christ.
Yeah.
The Old Testament. I mean, still pre-incarnate logos, but our understanding, it's Christianity.
Right? That's another important thing to keep in mind, is that King Solomon's writing this before the incarnation, of course, and before the resurrection.
No one has beaten death.
Right.
To that
death
point.
is this unconquerable. It's the real enemy of mankind. Like, it's going to get all of us. and he's recognizing that as
and
like,
they don't, and that's the crazy thing, coming to Christianity, and kind of falling away, you kind of are swimming in these presuppositions of life and death. And it makes you wonder, right? Specifically pre-incarnation. You have these different belief systems, the pagans, even the Hebrews at that time. I think, Elijah was after Solomon. That sound right?
Yes.
Right? Because he was taken up into heaven.
Right.
Either way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course he was.
Because
Sorry.
He was about. I could be wrong.
No, you're right.
Because they fall away, right? It's the.
I don't know why I got confused for a minute, because you have King Saul's the first king, David's after him, Solomon's after him, and then
they fall away and they repent. Right before that's Samuel.
Yeah,
there is Eli's before Samuel.
Yeah, right? We have all the judges, like the different judges of Israel before, and then in Samuel, that's where it's okay. Saul is the first king, right? He's because the people cry out for this,
all right,
and God says, "All right, you go, anoint a king." And then Saul at the time was a very good man.
Tall among the or whatever they say, right?
Head and shoulders taller. That's one of those little things that one of my friends who's a Protestant, but he brought up this that was kind of funny to me. I didn't think about is when David kills Goliath, Saul offers him his armor and he's like, "Oh, this is too big. I can't wear it." And at first you're like, "Oh, it's because David's so small." And then it's like, no, it's because it's Saul's armor. Saul's a big dude.
Well, it's how funny. And then you look
he's a young man, but
that dichotomy of like it's specifically, I'm in that right now. I'm in I think for us it's Kings though. Right now I get it confused, right?
Yeah. Because we have 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel in the Orthodox Bible is 1 Kings, 2 Kings, and then 1 Kings, 2 Kings from the Protestant Bible. In the Orthodox Bible is 2 Kings, 3 Kings.
Yes.
Or no, I'm sorry. That's Chronicles. Yeah.
Yes. Super confusing.
Yeah, it's confusing.
Ours,
see, I even got it wrong.
Yeah, I mean King. Yeah, it's King. The first Kings.
Yeah, or Kings.
It is. And it makes sense because he's the first king, right? So it's. But right, I think that first prophet it's Eli, right before Samuel, and he's the one that tells Hannah, right? You're gonna have right. She cries and she has Samuel, and then Samuel becomes, but then his sons are still not great, right? He finds Saul, blesses Saul. So hopefully, either way, hopefully we're right. I'm just bringing up the example of Elijah went into whole body. I think at that point Moses's body had been fought over. Right.
Well, Moses actually, no one knows where Moses was buried because God buried him.
But then remember in Jude, right? St. Michael and the devil fight over his body.
Right. So, I see.
I'm saying there's something with the body there. There's some form of afterlife. But when you look at most of the pagans, right, you're going, if there's some form of existence, whether you have a body or not, you're still in a lower spot.
Well, right. That's actually in, if you've read the Iliad or the Odyssey, right? That's what happens to Achilles, where he's like the greatest warrior ever. He dies. Then eventually you have Odysseus needs to go talk to him. So he sacrifices the goat at the mouth of Hades, which is that cool thing where we kind of forget about this because nowadays we always think of these underworld places or afterlife places as they're symbolic, they're not like a real place. But to the Greeks, it's like you can go to Greece and see the mouth of what they
go down there.
The actual river Styx was a real river. And so he went there, sacrificed a goat, and the shades of the dead come up to drink the blood, and that's where he finds Achilles, and Achilles even tells him nothing matters.
Meaningless,
Yeah,
dude.
like,
Which
now
is funny
I'm-
because
now
I
I'm
like
here.
that. I think I forget his mom was a god.
Yeah.
Right. And,
Or yeah, she's the one who dips him into the pool.
and that's why, and she doesn't get her Achilles.
Yeah.
But she's a god, right? And before he goes to war, right? She's like, hey, what should I do?
Yeah.
You stay here.
Mhm.
Kids will love you. You'll get married. They'll
But
love
no
you.
one will remember your name.
You'll be
Yeah.
forgotten.
Yeah.
Go there, you'll be remembered forever. But the only real way you're remembered forever is
In
attachment to
God's mind.
Christ.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why we
So-
say memory eternal at
Mhm.
funerals, because it's made this person, their memory, like in God, be forever.
Yep.
Right? Because God's the only thing that lasts. Because he's
The sun, right? And that's what's weird in the science perspective we were talking
Mhm.
about earlier. It's like, okay, you make all this money, da da da. It's like, and you still see that in the self-help
Mhm.
space where
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like, you gotta be remembered forever,
Legacy,
bro. Leave
yeah.
legacy. It's like, well, the sun is going to consume our solar system, and
Yeah.
we're either going to go into a cosmic freeze or a
Mhm.
cosmic explosion. Either way,
Yeah.
cooked.
Yeah.
You're all done, bro.
Right.
So unless you attach, from our perspective, the
Mhm.
idea of Christ, and then even death becomes something that's like,
Yeah.
okay, we know what to expect.
Right.
Versus like when I was kind of nihilistic or agnostic, I'm like, wow, it's gonna be
Mhm.
crazy to go over that waterfall. What to
Yeah.
expect?
Sure.
So, and I'm just relating to to the Old Testament. Like, okay, well, what
Mhm.
happens when we die?
Yeah.
Right? Do we go into the bosom of Abraham, which
Mhm.
I don't know how much that was fleshed out at the
Mhm.
time. They had the different levels.
Yeah.
Enoch kind of talks about that.
hmm
So for us, like it's so crazy because I just think
Right.
we overlook at like the idea of the resurrection.
Yes.
Right? I told you that multiple times. I'm like reading it, the
Yeah.
Bible, and I was kind of I was like, what am I? Am I
Mhm.
and I'm like, bro, Christ, this guy wrote, he had to have risen from the dead. That's the
Mhm.
only thing that makes total sense of our existence.
The only thing that matters, right? Like, because that's what Solomon's lamenting in Ecclesiastes is like, death's going to eat everything,
Yep.
right? Like eventually. And the only thing that lasts, the only thing that matters is God and
Yeah.
like commitment.
And you see that in other, what's funny is
Mhm.
you see that in other ideas. I think in Thor Ragnarok, his sisters hate,
Oh yeah.
Hela.
Hecate or Hela.
It's
Yeah.
still the
Mhm.
same hell or hate. It's
Mhm.
still
Yeah, yeah.
similar, right? I'm the goddess of death.
Yeah. It's the
right?
thing that consumes everything.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
At the end of time.
The devouring mother, that sort of thing. Yeah. Right.
And then it's funny because we still use the word Hades. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like there is that level of the Lord of
Right.
Spirits kind of idea. It's like, well, it's right there.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that eats everything at the end of time.
Right.
So it becomes like the superior God, right?
Mhm.
Then you see that when atheists want to live forever,
Right.
right? I have to live forever.
Uh-huh.
It's like you literally can't.
Yeah. We need to upload my consciousness into a machine.
Yeah.
And that way we can keep me going.
Yeah.
Because otherwise death's going to get me. It's like, it's going to get you anyway, man.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah. And I think about that because I saw every couple of years this tweet goes back around. Some guy, I don't know who it is. I didn't look into it, but says like just saying if anyone could defeat death, that would be like really great.
Yeah.
And then everyone responds with like, yeah, someone did.
Yeah.
Like here's an icon of the resurrection.
There he is.
Like here he is.
It's absolutely mind. It's just
Yeah.
what it literally throws, and that's why you see this. Like you see then why the monastics actually do what they like.
Yeah.
They really embody it. Not that we don't, right?
Yeah.
We obviously we have our own crosses to bear. Living in the world. Oh man, talking about we'll get to my trip, man. Like
Yes.
coming back to the world. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Dude, it was so funny.
Uh-huh.
Man. It was like, dude.
Yeah. You spend a month with monks and then
Bro, it was so
yeah.
bad. It was
Uh-huh.
so bad. It was honestly like I was just being carried in. I was like floating in a river,
Yeah.
right? Just easy going. And then it's like I was in a kayak again.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, dude, no, because on the trip, it's like wake up. We're at the monastery. You go to the,
Yeah.
and everyone's waking up. Everyone's going.
Mhm.
Get the liturgy. Have breakfast together. Hang
Yeah.
out for an hour or two. Cool. We're gonna go to this monastery for an hour or two.
Mhm.
Go to the monastery. Da da da. Look at these cool frescoes from 12th, 13th century.
Mhm.
Hey, we're gonna do a quick molybdenum to St. Nick.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Let's go eat dinner, go to another monastery,
Yeah.
end up at the monastery, Vespers, evening prayer, da da da.
Yeah.
I didn't really pray that, honestly, because I was just
You're just doing what
I'm just there,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So I was like, my nighttime prayers, like compared to what I usually do,
Yeah.
right?
Which
And
you have to in the world.
yes.
Yeah.
And then but to be carried, and then when I came back, like,
Mhm.
oh, I have to do my nighttime prayers.
Mhm.
Right. Versus before we did them all together. We
Right.
all go together and then we went to sleep. And I
Yeah.
tried to do a couple extra on my own because I
Mhm.
knew that. But just the also lack of temptation, right?
Mhm.
I'm around other people all the
Yeah.
time. So when you talk about any of the temptation, eating
Right.
too much, greed, lust, all
Mhm.
those things, it's like,
Yeah. You're in an environment that makes it hard. You'd have to
Yeah.
really seek those out to get them.
Dude, on Athos, right? There's no girls.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's like
Yeah.
when we were in Alcrid,
Mhm.
we went to St. John the Theologian. There's a popular, I don't know if you've heard of this church. It's like overlooking the water. It's in a couple of movies.
Yeah, right. Because don't they have it in it's in one of like the James Bond movies too,
it's in a James Bond movie, and then there's another popular one.
Yeah, it gets featured a lot. Yeah, it's
beautiful, overlooking the water. I think there's like a shootout scene in James Bond, I think.
Yeah, and isn't it where they like pick him up in a basket and stuff? Because that's actually how you get. I'm trying to remember. Maybe I'm confusing it with an Athonite monastery, but yeah.
But anyway, it was just funny. So right, we're in a pretty Alcrid. It's a pretty big city.
Yeah.
And so we walk. We stayed. Actually, I think, there we stayed in hotels. The only time we stayed in a hotel. But then we, church hop. We'd go to all the churches. So we went up, and we went to, I think it was of Pantaleon. We went to Saint Pantaleon, a church to him.
Yeah.
Did the liturgy. And it's funny, maybe we'll get into the Macedonian Greece thing. That's a whole.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it. I didn't really realize it till I was there. But yeah, so we went to liturgy there, and then we walked down to that monastery, and then on the way back, I think it was a Saturday, and so we walked along the beach.
Yeah,
and it was just pool party people, bikinis, smelling weed, smelling tobacco, alcohol, music. It's just like,
overwhelming.
Whoa. Yeah. Okay. And it was funny because we just walking by it.
Yeah.
And it was funny because when we got to we did a molybdenum that night at a different monastery, and Father Theodore was definitely like, hey guys, don't forget. And this was towards the end of the trip. And he's like, hey, don't, for lack of a better term, don't lose it. Like, you got all this grace last week. Like, it's hard though. Yeah. Remember, you're going to go back in the thick of it. Like, you're going to get smacked around, but like, hold on to what you can.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just saying, you see why the monks do what they do, right? Especially being on Athos, they're like, it's funny because there are some places with air conditioning. There are some cell phones. There are some Wi-Fi and some internet, which is one of the things that you've heard that they're starting to get a little more. Depends on the monastery,
right? Yeah, because you have some that are a lot more like touristy and popular. Yeah, and you have the ones that are a lot more martyric, and they actually are like, and not to knock any monastic anywhere, they're doing way more than I ever do. So, but yeah, just you have different types of monasteries that have different
with like churches and jurisdictions, right? And that was something you kind of find. There's drama. There's always drama with all people everywhere. So it's just funny coming like, oh, that monastery, they set delegates when the prime minister came. We didn't do that. I'm kind of one-sided on that. About the prime minister of Greece and kind of the NATO and so it's funny though, to be honest. On Athos, chatting with some of the monks, and it's so weird. We've chatted about the end time thing, where everyone's like, it's always the end time. Yeah, every generation seems to think it is, but it does seem. I don't know. I guess I haven't looked enough into 17th, 18th, 19th, because even with kind of like the Russian Revolution, it seemed like I think Saint Seraphim, right? I think chatted about this, but he didn't really talk about it being the end.
I don't think so. Yeah,
he wasn't saying this is like, but
like a great chastisement is coming.
Yes,
like many people will suffer for this, but in a lot of ways too, it's like, and I like the overall, like Russian Orthodox Christians do see it as like, nope, this is what's kept our faith alive because of the Bolshevik Revolution. That one, just like an astronomical amount of martyrs, I forget the number, 100 million.
So on Athos before the revolution, I forget, they had like thousands of Russian monks that were there right before the revolution, and they all got called back and murdered, executed probably, or gulagged to death. Because those is funny, just learning a little bit about the history. They're like, like, I think the Greeks were like, we have too many Russians here, right? And I think because like Saint Elizabeth was part of that. I think partly, and I think was it her and the Tsar that got more land in the Holy Land back? Was that specifically right?
I think so. Yeah.
Right? I think during late 18th, early around late 18th,
late 1800s or late 19th century.
They were trying to rebuild the monastery, get more land in the Holy Land, build up Athos, and the Greeks were actually kind of, because they had their whole things going on with the Turks then. So because I think we just had like, what was it, 1,000-year anniversary? It just happened in 1970 or 80.
Yeah.
And at that point, I think the Greek government was ready to come in and shut some of the places down. There was just no monks.
Right.
But now it's like there's been a
There's
flooding.
a resurgence, which is good.
Yeah.
You even got to meet an American monk.
I did.
On
Several.
Athos, which is, well, several of them. Yeah, which is really cool.
Well, and I think a lot of them, you know, it's funny because, like, oh, if you're going to be there, make sure you go over to like St. Peter's or St. Paul. St. Paul's is right there. I have to remember. So I was on the south side. They're like, oh, there's a guy from Texas there. But, you know, like you'll hear like, oh, as I was in like Montenegro and Serbians, and like, hey, when you get down there, like, because it got brought, like, you get brought up, like, oh, hey, make sure you get a chat. There's a guy from Texas here, because a lot of them, right? I'd say over 50% spoke English. Yeah, and same thing even in the Balkans, like when you're Montenegro, Serbia,
get around with English.
And most of them, if not, luckily for us, on the trip. Right. So the trip was a youth trip. It was 18 to 35. Right.
So youth nowadays.
It's funny because I'm right on that cusp. So we started in Montenegro, but then we had, you know, there was like a big group from London, real core. And a lot of them were first or second generation Russian in London, right? So they all spoke pretty good Russian,
and Russian.
So that translated okay to Slavonic when you're talking to the Serbs. Right? And then the same thing, there was a good group people from Toronto, right, who were also first, second, maybe third generation Russian, right? So they all spoke
enough Slavic language to get around.
So that was going through there was fine. Our tour guide was Serbian. He spoke. But it was funny. Then Father Theodore, I think, was he at Jordanville? So he right, knows Slavonic very well. But then he co-celebrated, and I think they kind of every once in a while they're like, that, you know,
I wasn't quite right.
So it was fine. That was fun. So yeah, I mean, the majority of the trip, like I said, I kind of explained a little bit about the different states, you know, saints that we had met. We started in Montenegro, and I really wish I could pronounce. I'll just say how much I'm gonna.
Yeah,
I think it was like Chetni Monastery, Cetinje. It was funny. This one's funny in particular because we get there, and they brought out the right hand of John the Baptist. Right, which is like, wow, this is the hand that touched Christ. But they're like, we have the real one. So I don't know. Yeah, there's like, technically, I think the Catholics, they have one, but it's funny, right? That was like day one of this trip. So this trip's like right under 14 days. And then, so my plan was I get to Montenegro a couple of days early, hang out. They also have the Cathedral of the Resurrection there, which I think second to St. Sava's in the Balkans is probably like, there were lots of really pretty ones also in Greece. For sure, outside of like Thessaloniki, in probably Athens, like St. Sava's is in Belgrad's huge, and then the Holy Resurrection here in Pax Rita is like crazy. It's funny, on the back wall they had Stalin and Tito and other like communists being eaten
by a demon or a dragon.
At the end of time they had the Antichrist sitting, so that was kind of funny too. We go to that monastery, right hand of John the Baptist was there, so we did a molebdom, Acathis molebdom. They're just funny because I was like, oh, I didn't know there was contention about. I kind of get to me, I'm like, it's probably Catholics, like they think they have one, we have one.
There's that's surprising, the amount of like counterfeit relics. And then you also had, very sadly, like after the Fourth Crusade,
they stole a bunch.
They stole a whole bunch of the Catholics after they sacked Constantinople. They gutted it, took a bunch of the relics and took them all the way back to like Venice, and so now they're like, oh, look what we have. It's like, yeah, but you stole those from like good people. Like, is that something that they're gonna bless? I don't know. There's a lot of that, this weird tug of war over relics and things from the ancient times. And so then in medieval times, whenever I say ancient, sometimes I mean medieval too, just pre-modern, right? So then sometimes figuring out which one's authentic is difficult. So
it was fun. Is again something you have rose-colored glass. You know, with everything. You ever, cool. And you're like, well, wait a minute. People are arguing about the right hand. So, but if what I saw was like, it seemed like the first three fingers, right? I don't think I saw the bottom two. And half the time they're kind of covered, and like you're kind of looking
gold and other things.
And you're in line. You go up, you venerate. It's not like you kind of get a chance to look at it for a couple seconds, depending on.
You got a bunch of people behind you too. So if you hold up the line too much, but yeah, it is like I've seen really cool, like just pictures of them, but the relics of St. John and Chrysostom, where there's his right hand, which is incorrupt, but he's also got like they've covered a lot of gold and stuff on his hand, and then his skull, which is encased in gold, except his right ear is showing, which is the ear that St. Paul spoke into for him to write his homilies. So, which I know sounds, if you're unfamiliar with that, you should look it up because it's really, really fascinating. But yeah, just his hand that wrote the homilies, even though, some people, there's some arguments that people go, well, did he write these, or did he just say them and then his scribe wrote them down? Either way, the point is, like, his right hand's incorrupt, his right ear is still there. So it's yeah.
So I bring this up.
Yeah.
So like I bring that up because later when I go to Athos, I go to St. Gregorio and I go to St. Dionysius.
Yeah.
St. Dionysius also says they have the right hand.
Sure.
But again, what was weird is to me, it just looked like it was the radial and ulnar. It just looked like radius
part of his arm.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? Like I was kind of like,
if it's part of if it's part of his body, yeah.
But then the other part when I went to Athos, Harizanis, I'm pronounced his name wrong. Sorry, Harizanis. Harizanis, like
it's probably
yeah. Love him. He was great. My godfather connected me with him, and he's very intelligent, cradle Orthodox. So spoke English. He came with me, so it was like God sent.
Nice.
Honestly, he came with me and would translate and
nice.
So
that's super helpful.
So when we were at the monastery on Athos, we would do Vespers and then we'd eat. And then afterwards they'd be like, all right, guys, now you get to see all of our things. Did I tell you this? I forget. Like I saw the skull of St. Fotini.
Yes, you did tell me that, which is crazy. Does anybody know, if you don't know who St. Fotini is, do you want to
tell her story?
That's she's the woman at the well. Like, if that's the same St. Fotini that we're talking about. Yeah. So yeah, she's not named in the scriptures, but the church remembers her, like, because she, believe it or not, she did a whole lot of stuff after Christ completely changed her life. So yeah, Saint Fotini, the woman at the well, you got to see her skull. That's amazing.
She's big deal.
2,000 years old. That's awesome.
I thought, and this is what's funny, as I'm just chat GBTing it right now. It was a lot though, because we would be at the monastery and then they would literally pull out 6 or 7 relics, and it'd be smaller pieces and big pieces. And Harizanis had to like translate. He goes, skull of Saint Fotini. Like oh, and it was trying to be respectful. So the guy would be like going through them and chat. He's speaking Greek. Right hand of St. John Chrysostom. I thought he said that
of St. John,
right? But when I'm chat GBTing it, it says it's actually at Philo. Right hand. St. Dionysius says right there. That says right hand John the Baptist.
So is that what he said instead of St. John Chrysostom, or did you get to see a relic?
I thought St. John Chrysostom's right hand too.
Oh wow!
I could be wrong, but when I'm looking at this, it says it's at Philothea.
I thought it was elsewhere, but I mean, you actually went to places, and I didn't.
Philo.
Yeah, that's the picture I've seen of his hand.
Yeah, and this says Philo. Can you read that? Philotheo.
Philotheo,
which is where I'm pretty right. That's where
Philotheo in Greek and Mount Athos.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's usually where Elder Ephraim was at.
Yeah,
and I also thought St. Joseph the Hesychast, but when we went by St. Anne's Skeet, I think that was he was closer to St. Anne's Skeet.
Yes, because he had a small skeet with his disciples, his squad.
Did I tell you that? It was funny because I try not, I am the way I am. So when I was talking with the monks, I'd kind of like, oh yeah, you and your squad in that hermitage. You know what I mean? They'd be like, I could see them being off, but
okay.
Just my demeanor, I'm loud and I'm outgoing and stuff.
You're very American.
Yes, I've been in deep prayer for the past 3 weeks in outside of Philothea. It's like, oh yeah, you and your squad out there all night doing visuals, bro. You know what I mean? It's funny because that was when I got around the American monks. There was a couple of American monks that I kind of like, chatted it up with. So it was cool to kind of I was kind of let loose a little bit more because I thought culturally it was a little bit more appropriate.
Sure.
So it's funny. Yeah, we had. So I'm trying to think of all the again, it was just like lots of relics. Right, the right hand St. John the Baptist we saw at that was in Montenegro, and then we went to Ostrog where St. Basil is.
Right.
it's funny that I think even the tour guide is like, the joke is that they'll pray to St. Basil even before Christ, like in a really joking way, right?
Obviously
like,
not, but yeah,
St. Basil is
they
so
venerate him
there.
very, very much. He's a big deal.
He's their guy. He's for sure.
He
So
protects them.
And then so we were at his monastery in Ostrog, which is cool. I'll try and pull up a picture. You've seen it, right? The pictures of it. It's like in the mountain.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's built like that's carved into the mountain face, or the cliff face. That's really, really cool. Yeah, and you took a lot of pictures. I don't know how much we'll be able to show, but
tried to upload them. But it's changed now. Oh, probably because
you're sharing. Because I think it's because you're sharing the browser. Yep, there it is.
Yeah. Whoa. Right.
There we go. Yeah.
If I do.
Hopefully that's coming through. I think so. That's what we're seeing, at least. Yeah.
Copyright. Yeah, it's gorgeous. So for those who, but you cannot. It's so hard to see. You know, it's one of those things. It's like up in the mountain. You're like, wait, where are we going? You're like, up there.
Got to get way up there to get there.
Yeah, that was funny because we got there and they threw I think there was 54 of us on the trip, and we had triple bunks in one room.
Oh boy, yeah.
So they threw us all stuff. They threw us all in one room. Father Theodore's like, we're not doing the whole co-sleeping thing, guys. Go sleep outside. So
slept on the ground outside like monks. Nice.
For 2 nights. No showers. Sure. You know, so that was interesting to get on the bus. It was like 90 degrees the whole time.
Yeah, it was sweaty.
Yeah. And then let me put my agenda here. So we stayed at Ostrog. We kind of hung out at that and had some really beautiful. I mean, his relics are there. His whole body. Did liturgy there, and then it's funny because that's like at the top of the hill. At the bottom of the hill, there's kind of some other churches. Right. It was funny because a lot of it was kind of outside. When we were actually in the monastery, it was interesting, the liturgy, because I think the inside chapels were so small. There's so many people there.
Right. And so
a couple. I don't know if those 100, 200 people. Which in those old chapels, maybe 50 people in there.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we had all 50 of us. A lot of times couldn't fit into a lot of them.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think. I don't want to, we went to a couple other spots that, and again, these I wasn't familiar with before we went on the trip. In Milisave is 12th, 13th century. Yeah. So the first couple days, 3-4 days being in Montenegro, learned a lot about St. Basil, and he was 1600s, and his main issue was definitely dealing with kind of caving to the Catholics, right? Because the Ottomans are coming up and they're getting crushed by the Ottomans in that part, right? Because it's not right. Vienna, when's the first siege? 16 something.
Yeah,
first one. I think second one was
within 100 years of the fall of Constantinople.
Yeah.
So
I forget right? Because I think
that's the winged hussars, that whole thing.
Yeah. Well, they did it first, right? We went up back on it. You and I were like, it was like 15, 16. It was like, I think it was later. Like the second siege of Vienna was like 17 or 8.
That could be true. Yeah. Because you have, 1453's Constantinople falls, and there would be something in the 1500s. Yeah. 1683. Yeah. So a couple hundred years after. Yeah.
So, and he, I think, is like 1610 to 1670 or 80.
Yeah.
So
right before that.
Has a huge issue having to deal with the Catholic Venetian. It's funny because our tour guide kept saying Venetians.
Yeah.
We know what you mean. But he was funny because, he was cradle in Serbian and top level. I don't know if he had a PhD, but historian everywhere he went.
Really, really brilliant. Yeah.
Everything he knew, he could tell you this guy, this fresco was painted by this guy in 12th, 13th century. Right. He was phenomenal. He was great.
Yeah.
So learned a lot about St. Basil and the persecutions, just trying to he didn't want to be in a position of power like most bishops. He's like, no, I just want to be a monk. Like, nope. Yeah. We need you. And then lost a lot of churches to both Ottomans and Catholics, right? Catholics were imposed, because they wanted them to be underneath their.
Like, hey, we'll help if you just kiss the ring.
Right? Whoops, we destroyed your church. It's ours now, kind of thing. So it was interesting because I didn't know a whole lot about the Balkans. Learned a little bit more about Yugoslavia, First and Second Balkan War. So we go into Montenegro, And what's so funny, this too, are you familiar with, Montenegro and Serbia? Like they're basically, I'm pretty sure Montenegro was kind of underneath the Serbian patriarch, right? So what do you know much about?
Honestly, that's something I've taken away lately. This is a little quick side tangent because we did, while you were gone, we did our annual men's camping trip retreat. And one of the guys that came with us, I'm not going to name drop him just because I haven't gotten his permission to, but he's a wonderful man, parishioner at our church, and he's Serbian, like from there. And it was so cool talking with him, like how much he knows, of course, his own country's history, but seeing, this is a whole other topic, like seeing how anemic in America, like we are from the heritage standpoint, and not to knock us, but more of just look how rich some of these countries, like where it's like his, I'm trying like, again, I don't think this is specific enough to name drop him, but Saint Sebastian Dabovich, I think,
Of Jackson?
Of San Francisco, so he's the first American born man who was ordained a priest in America.
I think.
Oh yeah. But yeah, he wrote there's a really good book called The Beacon from the Bay. I really recommend search that, find it, because one, I don't know him super well directly, but one of my godsons is good friends with the guy who compiled this. Yeah, that's him. Saint Sebastian of San Francisco and Jackson. He's Serbian. Yeah, he's Serbian, and he's actually a relative of this guy at our parish. He's like, oh yeah, he's one of, and just like, oh yeah, one of my relatives is a saint, and then like his daughter's godfather is I feel bad because I'm blanking on his name, but he's his last name's Lambertson. He's the guy who translated like the Maneon into English.
Wow.
And then you also have like his wife's spiritual father is a saint, like his reposed, of course, but like is a saint. And just the amount of like connections he has of like, oh, and my dad, his spiritual father is this saint. Like you have like your whole like family heritage and life, and like very, very close to you is like saturated with these very pious people, these people who are saints. And so it was just really like the contrast, like spending time with him and talking with him and realizing, wow, I've got like, I really am like just brand new, grafted in, and he's comes from this long line of people who've suffered for the faith. And to where I know for him, like we even talked like, oh, we should all do a guy's trip to Serbia. And he's like, it'd be dangerous for him to go back there because of current issues. And so we were like, we're not scared of Albanians. We'll stick with you.
Albanians,
and he's like,
Kosovo. I learned a little bit about that too. But it's funny because, we kind of have that, like, I converted at 32, what that was, like 32 or 3, and you were mid 20s.
28.
Late 20s, right?
Yeah.
The difference between, and it's funny, it's funny because I got both sides of it. Like when I talk to the people in Greece, they're like, wow, you came all the way from America to come here. Like on Athos, you're like, there's kind of a, I was kind of like, oh, American, but they're like, a lot of them
were surprised you're there.
Well, excited. Like we've heard America's like, Orthodox is blooming. Is this true?
Yeah.
Do you bring good word from the mark? Right? They're like, is it good? I'm like, we went, like, we walked down walls at a church. It's like we went from 100 people to 200 people. And it's like, it's still very small, but we're growing,
We are. Yeah. We went from a tiny little church, like our parish, our home. It was really interesting because when I started going there, it was already starting to grow a little, but I think it was probably like 50 people regular. And now it's like we're at like 150 regular.
Yeah.
And then on Pascha, it's like 300 people or something crazy. I might be exaggerating a little, but it is so packed that like when we have that moment at Pascha where we embrace each other and go around, you're just squeezing between people. There's no floor space at all that isn't occupied by people. It's beautiful.
How cool is that?
Yeah. And like our rector has pointed out, he's like, we used to be this nice small little parish, and he's like, now we're a nice big parish, and now we have big parish problems. So pray for your parish. Yes.
And it's funny, the hard part is like, I was trying to be truthful at the same time. When you look at, what do you think is the valley got 1 million, like 500,000? How many people do you think's in the valley?
Oh boy. Yeah. Like,
Metropole,
like if we were a
like 200, 300,000 people.
Yeah, 300,000 people just in Boise. Yeah, and then if you include Nampa, Caldwell, Star, Cuna, meridian.
Or, let's
Yeah,
let's just say 5.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
But I still like, this is where I'm happy, and I also am like, okay, so let's be
Mhm.
overly right.
Yeah, let's
We
be
have-
really liberal about
We have
like,
500,000 people. We have
Mhm.
3 churches, and let's say let's just say 333 people, like
Mhm.
1,000 people.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Well,
which we were probably at 200 a couple, like, so
Mhm.
like there's this, like, we double triple. That's
yeah,
like,
we're still
glory to
very, very
God.
small. Yeah. Mhm.
So that's why I was telling him, I'm like, I go, still we're
Mhm.
very small, but
Yeah.
I think we're,
It's growing.
I hate this word loud or
Mhm.
commit,
Yeah.
zealot, like they're still,
It's making big waves. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
because that's where, I got that a lot, where people, the people, like the monks at the monastery that we stayed
Mhm.
at, were so excited, like they're happy.
Yeah.
And the monks here, like, if you haven't, they're most of the time they're
Of
pretty
course.
happy to see you.
Yeah.
Very much like, we're so excited that you went on this pilgrimage. You
Mhm.
bring us energy, because you got to
Yeah.
think, man, like, to be a monk. I mean,
Mhm.
there's definitely, they know what they're getting themselves into, but I would also think,
You're cut off from the world, and
and then,
yeah.
but it's like, am I doing anything?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not putting
Mhm.
words. I'm not a monk. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I pray every day. I do my thing. Is like, is this helping?
Mhm.
And then to see people come from the city, like,
Yeah, and from other countries to be like,
what do you do? Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
especially a like a historically non-orthodox country like America, where it's like, what? There's all these pilgrims coming from America.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Well, and then we
Mhm.
show up, and they're like, where are you from? Like,
Mhm.
and then we had Russian people. We had, Polish people. We had
Yeah.
couple guys from
Europeans
Canada, a
and-
couple
yeah.
guys from like Birmingham, England,
Yeah.
like all over the place.
Yeah.
Right. We had a couple girls from Macedonia,
Uh-huh.
Skopje.
Uh-huh.
No, don't say Macedonia, say Skopje.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it was, that Montenegro, got to learn
Mhm.
about St. Basil. And then we, basically when we went into kind of Serbia then, and Kosovo, we
Mhm.
really went into the, what do I want to say? The Stefan Euros, the Serbian kings. I don't do a
right.
great job of keeping them all.
They're all named Stephen, and there's a
Yes.
million of them, but yeah.
And so the Saint Sava is like also
Mhm.
there, like I said, in Belgrade. That's like the biggest church. Saint
Yes.
Sava is like their guy, right?
Mhm.
He was royalty, goes to Mount Athos, converts to a monk,
Mhm.
right? And his dad's like, you're going to be royalty,
Mhm.
and then his dad ends up converting,
Yeah.
too, right?
Or
And
getting tonsured. Yeah.
yes,
Mhm.
yeah, sorry, yes.
I know what you
I
mean.
think he was Orthodox, and
Yeah.
then it's funny because with that Saint Stefan Nemanja, and his name
Mhm.
becomes Simeon.
Mhm. Yeah. Once he
And
becomes
his monk name.
Yeah. Mhm. His monastic name, because
Yeah.
that's
Switch.
the only time. Yeah, you'll get another name. I've heard like you can get a max of. I might be wrong.
They max your name out.
Well, you can like a maximum of 3, because you also get, so you have your name at baptism.
Yep.
That's your first one. And for all of us converts, many of us, like, we take another name.
Yep.
Seraphim is my baptized name. That's not the name on my birth certificate, right? But then, like, if you were to become a monk, you usually take a monastic name.
Yep.
And then if you become a schema monk, you get another name.
Because that's like, isn't that with
like Abbot,
Cyril? Saint Cyril.
Mhm.
Cyril.
Saint Cyril and Methodius. Like, his name was Constantine.
Constantine. I was
until
right.
he became a monk, or I think he was a monk, became a schema monk right before his death.
That makes so much sense to me, because I was trying to figure that out. I remember, like, dude, his name. It's funny because everyone's all about, and I'm like, hey, I'm pretty sure his whole life he was known as something different.
Yeah, he was known as Constantine. Yeah. Mhm.
So then at the end, it would be kind of weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, it's like of recent repose, and like Lord have mercy, God remember him. Abbot Seraphim, he got he took the great schema, became schema monk, schema archimandrite Pantaleimon right before he died.
Oh, Holy Cross?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah, I've seen his documentary.
Right.
Yes, he's in a lot. They have done documentaries over there.
Yeah. Right. And so he like, that was, I'd seen videos of him online and stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, this is Abbot Seraphim, and then eventually it's like, actually he took another name as he becomes a schema monk. And that's actually my favorite. I think I can confidently say he even beats out Tolkien. My favorite work of fiction is this book called Laurus, and it's beautiful. It's a novel. I'm just going to pitch it real quick, because if you're Orthodox, or even if you're just ortho curious, seriously get this book and read it. One of my friends, who was like a Jordan Peterson disciple type of guy, where he's like, I get why people need religion, but I don't really need it. because I'm smart enough. I get what it's trying to teach you. I convinced him to read that book, and he read it, and he's like, I need to look into like religion more seriously. And then he ended up becoming Orthodox. His baptized name is Augustine now, which is just awesome. But this book, it's a novel, but the author, Yevgeny Vodolazkin, he's like an expert philologist with medieval manuscripts. So he like translates stuff from Slavonic and all this. And he wove together this story. So it's fictional, but everything that happens in it is taken from lives of saints.
Okay.
All over.
That's cool.
And so it's the life of this one guy. When he's born, his baptized name is Arseni, but like by the end of his life, his name is Laurus, because he becomes a schema monk at the very end.
Okay.
And so that's what the book is called, is Laurus. It's such a good book. Like, I can't recommend it enough. It's in my opinion, and I try to avoid using this term because I think it gets overused a lot when people say this thing is good, and therefore they call it a masterpiece. And it's like, a masterpiece, in my opinion, is like, well, what it actually is in the historical use of that word is someone proving that they're worthy of the title of master by, like, usually a blacksmith would have their masterpiece where they'd smith something that's like, this proves that I am worthy of the title of master.
Yeah.
And so this book, I say, is a masterpiece. Like, this is someone who really understands literature and history and how to use literature to tell a beautiful story that has, like, is just depth and depth and depth of meaning. So if reading the actual lives of saints is a bit dry, read this book, because it's awesome. But in that book, that's where the character has several names throughout the story, because but he becomes a monk and he gets a new name. He gets Ambrosi, and then he becomes a schema monk at the end and gets the name Laurus. And that's the very end of his life in the book. So so I hate to be like, oh, I remember in this fictional book this thing, but I did, then also there's Abbot Seraphim or Schema Archimandrite Pantaleimon. So yeah, they do that with that. Real quick thing on that. It reminds me, like, oh yeah, you could have 3 names, which is, baptism, tonsuring a monk, and then becoming taking the great schema. And there is this thing in, like, to be Orthodox, you could get tonsured like a maximum of 3 times, not as like you're using up your tonsurings, but the tonsuring where they cut your hair, that is an initiation into something. So when you're baptized, they cut your hair.
Yep.
That's you're initiated into the church. Then when you become a reader, they cut your hair, and that's you being initiated into the priesthood. And then if you were to become a monk, they tonsure you again as a monk, and that's initiating you into the monastic life. So if you were like a hieromonk, right, like you're a monk priest, or honestly, even if you were a monk and a reader, it's like you would have been tonsured 3 times. Yeah, you were tonsured
either way.
When you were baptized, you're tonsured when you became whichever one came first, a monk or a reader, and then you were tonsured again, whichever one come next, like monk or reader. So yeah.
You're going to use up so many of your names.
Well, yeah, thankfully you don't get a new name at like ordination, but you do with monastic stuff. So yeah, that's
you can imagine it'd be confusing back then, because they, not like us, like I just go on my Facebook, hey guys, my name's changed, or have a decree,
right? But trying to find somebody if you only knew them by name, and it's like, where
is Father? Where's
Philip? Yeah, and it's like, oh well, he's
like Constantine. Where's Constantine?
You mean Cyril?
No, I need Constantine. Oh, he had his name changed, and then back then too, how many monks had the same name? I mean, you go to the monastery, there's 60 monks there. Yeah, there's probably 3 or 4 Constantines.
Yeah,
or whoever,
or Johns or whatever. Yeah, that's true. And so it's interesting. That's of course, people would keep track of obviously like what your name was before. Yeah. But yeah, and obviously a lot of this is written down. So that's how we're able to follow this. And we know like that St. Cyril, like his baptized name was Constantine. It was just once he became a monk at the end of his life. And again, I can't remember if he became a monk or if he had if he was a monk, he took the great schema, whichever it was.
Some reason he changed. It was funny you say that, because I was like, pretty sure his name was Constantine, and I chatted because there's a gentleman at the Antiochian church, and at one of our barbecues or whatever. I was like, tell me about St. Cyril, and he told me a lot. There's a lot on him.
Yes,
right. So he too, obviously in that area was a very big name, right?
Yeah.
In Kosovo, I mean, in all of it. And then his disciples, which the only one I really remember was Saint Naum, right? I think he had 4 or 5 of his disciples, and I think a couple of them were martyred.
Yeah.
So they were a big deal. So, right, we had Ostra, we had Saint Basil more in kind of the Montenegro area.
Yeah.
Get over into kind of Serbia, Kosovo, which that was all underneath the Serbian, right?
Right.
The Serbian Empire, and
yeah,
right, all the way from Saint Stefan Nemanja, who became Simeon. He was a Murgash, so we saw him. His body was, I believe, in the Studenice. Studenice. That's like cool because it was like up in the mountain.
Right.
That was kind of the we woke up for liturgy and the guys walking out smashing the wood.
Yeah.
Right. Did we chat about that? Why they do the wood?
Right, because for a while the Turks banned the use of bells because they were tired of, like, they were trying to stop the Christians from being able to assemble for prayer. So they're like, okay, bells are now outlawed.
Yeah.
And so then instead they're like, well, we'll use a plank of wood and we'll walk around and smack it with a hammer. So that it's plenty loud. And I've seen some of those big ones, dude, that are hanging from a belfry, and they're just pounding on it.
They were so loud. I was actually really surprised.
Yeah.
I was like, dang, that's some loud wood smashing. They were big names. Then we got into Kosovo. I told you a little bit about a Stefan Dechanski, right? He was a big name. He built a lot of monastery. His monastery in church, actually, his church was underneath NATO, like protect. It had not been desecrated at all. So these are 12th, 13th, 14th century, depending. I think latest had been like 11. I think St. Saba was like 1150s, 80s. Could be wrong. Someone correct me.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
So, and then like we kind of did the whole right. So Saint Stefan Nemanja, and then I think it's his great grandson was the Saint Stefan Neuros the first.
Right.
That we
that we were looking at. Yeah.
And then
you
had
have
a
an
son,
icon of him.
Stefan Milutin. And then the more popular ones is Dechanski.
Yes.
Because he built a lot of monasteries, and then he was usurped. This is very debatable. Depending on who you talk to, because even the Serbian guy, he's like, for much of history, we've thought that Deshaun, his son, with the nobles,
conspired to
kick him off because he was kind of weak.
Depose him and
and Deshaun, his son, is like at least 7'1". They think maybe size 7'6". And I guess there's 2 other, because dude, they're really tall over there,
dude. Yeah, I've met Serbians, even the ones that are here.
Yeah,
like there's is it Bishop Maxime?
Yeah.
And then I've met Father Milan and like these other Serbs, and all of them are like 6'6" or taller. Like, what's in the water with Serbia?
That was because my older sister's like right at 6 foot. My younger sister's like 5. So I'm not used to and I was like, these were 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah.
Like, girls were like, no, I'm
not
even going to try to admit that I'm taller. With my sister, I'm like, you're wearing heels. I'm tall. Sure. I'm 6 foot 3/4, so I'm technically taller than you. So and then kind of learning about that drama was interesting. And it was funny because we stayed at the Archangel Monastery in Kosovo, which was also interesting because there's lots of Albanian, Turks, right? And it was sad because it was like gas stations. How many mosques there were? How many we call them minarets?
Yeah, the minarets, the spires, and they would box a church. They'll box a church.
Literally, literally, you have like this nice Orthodox church, and then they just put 4 mosques around it. Which obviously is done intentional. We saw some of the other churches that have been desecrated, learned about a lot of the atrocities committed from their freedom fighters. Like they have, I won't even tell stories of the atrocities they did to kids, pregnant women, and and then there's statues of them still standing in Kosovo. And I mean, I get it. There's 2 sides to every story.
Sure.
Right. But the stuff that and it was funny because the Serbian guy's like, our brothers who are also made in the image of God. He didn't say like he tried to we need to pray for them. And he goes, that's what the saints did.
Yeah.
Right. How many saints that were martyred by these people?
But
I'm like, I see when we go to the Archangel Monastery, which also Mike, we saw.
You're named for an archangel.
So it was cool. I had a good time. It was funny. We put all the guys again were in like one big room there. They had good food. They were very hospitable in Kosovo. But that's when I learned about Deshaun. And again, you're just like, I'm still that warrior type. I
Oh,
grew up
yeah.
watching. I'm like, dude, it's like 7, and like they said, like he'd be standing on the throne where other emissaries would come, and he's
Yeah.
already huge.
Yeah.
And then he'd like stand up, and he'd have like these other 2 guys who are 7 foot standing next to him.
Yeah, just tremendously
Just
Oramaxing.
Straight high tea.
Yeah,
And that's when they kind of, and this was mid 1350s, I believe, right? So that's
Yeah.
kind of the height of the Serbian Empire, right? Constantinople was 1210 to 1260 ish. Does that sound right? When they had been sacked and ruled by the Catholics?
Oh, yeah. 1204 is when the Fourth Crusade.
Right.
Yeah,
They sacked them, and then they tried to take
And then they set up a puppet government and all that for a while, and then
yeah.
Well,
and because that, again, the blood of the martyrs, like because of that, then Kosovo, Serbia got a lot of
a lot of refugees essentially.
Yeah, and they painted the churches, and then that allowed for the Serbian, like Deschan and Dechanski to then put up a bunch of monasteries, and then make the Balkans pretty Orthodox for that time period. So, again, me, I'm like, oh, Giga Chad ruled.
Yeah,
and then you're like, oh, did you really kill you? And I'm biased. I'm like, no, there's no way he did. Like, it had to. And one, it seemed like too. You got to think again. Venetians are there, trade routes, money.
Oh yeah.
The tour guide was like, he's like, personally, and this theory is becoming more popular, that he went with them to depose his dad, because his dad, I guess, Dechanski, was very pious.
Yeah.
But because of that, you could see him as being weak. Sorry.
Sure. No.
Worldly term.
It's the same thing like Emperor Constantine the 11th was incredibly, he's the last one.
Oh yeah.
He was a very, very pious man. And a lot of it's sad for me to read as a historian, right? Like you see where he just keeps beseeching Sultan Mehmet the Conqueror to be like, let's figure out a peaceful way to do this. And he's like, I'm going to murder all your emissaries and put them up on spikes. And then Emperor Constantine just weeps about it because, and you have like the Islamic apologists that are like, oh, they're just cry about it. And they're like, we're so much stronger than them. But it's like, no, it's this man like had real like virtue and compassion and love. And he was dealing with a monster of a person. And so like, and I don't care if anyone gets mad about it. Yeah. And Mehmet also was like 21. So you think of like 21-year-old
Islamic guy. I got to get my 200 virgins in heaven. Right.
Well, and he wanted to be like every sultan before him wanted to take Constantinople. And he's like, I'm going to be the one to do it. He was very, very ambitious. Like you can admire that aspect of him, but ruthless, brutal, evil person. So yeah,
Lord have mercy on his soul.
Yeah, may God have mercy on him. So yeah, but so there is that thing where like you have these really pious kings that can seem weak by earthly standards because they don't want to like tarnish their souls and the souls of their people by.
Well, how many people have kind of even said that about Tsar Nicholas,
right?
Advocating and being like, he should. Well, I don't know. I've not read that much. A little bit that I've read, it's all a great Orthodox Christian, terrible king. Good, blah blah
whatever.
Blah.
Yeah, but,
it's difficult, obviously to be in a position like that. So
yeah, like it's easy for us, especially when we're not even in charge of like anything, to be able to pass judgment on these people who rule entire nations and have all of these people.
Yeah, the souls of people, right?
Yeah, not just their bodies.
From a worldly perspective, you get them being greedy for worldly things versus having to. Because it was funny too, when we were over there was also Vladimir and Olga's feast day too.
Yeah.
Right. So we kind of, I think there was, they had a ton of respect. It seemed like overall there was a little bit of, trying to think of the word. Nothing fruitful. It was overall well accepted, right? Vladimir and Olga, I think to the people that we were there for the feast. And again, I really was the tour guide, and then maybe some local, just you can kind of get a feel for who people venerate,
right?
They love, and whatnot. But again, the tour guide, I think he was more like, he was more under the opinion that Deschan was probably involved, and because he probably thought it was actually best. Like, dad, you're not like, I'll take over.
Yeah.
But then he's like, I did not want you to murder my dad.
Right. And the conspirators.
And then they thought the nobility was probably more so for joining the Catholics out of power.
Yeah.
Right. And then
you want to secure alliances and money.
And that's why they think Deschan probably wasn't involved, because he stayed true to Orthodoxy and then really he was really more pro-Orthodox.
Yeah.
It seemed like after in that time, it could have went either way when Duchamp first came in, and then it went full-blown Orthodox.
Right.
Where it's like if he'd have been into the not only removal of the father, but even the martyring of the father, then he probably would have joined the Catholics.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, but, you know, it's just I've fun learning about all that stuff in history. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's and then jam. Yeah, you know, we maybe chat a little bit about like getting down then into Sculpia. I didn't know that was it. Was funny because I think in Ohrid, yeah. I think after the liturgy, the Macedonians sang their national hymn, and we had some Greek people with us, and they're like, "We're Macedonia, Macedonians, we're Macedonia." Like the translation, it's like, I think to this day, I don't think Greece recognizes them, or maybe they did once they said we'll be North Macedonia. Does that sound right?
I think so. I'm honestly not like the history buff that I have is like a couple centuries earlier than most of like what we're talking about there.
To my so to my understanding, like the Greek, you know, and this is Philippians and in Thessalonians. I think he for sure in Thessalonians calls them Macedonia. Right. So to them, they're like, we're Macedonia. And it's funny because from what I believe, and this could, again, someone can correct me, but the premise is somewhat right, that I believe Montenegro, I don't know if they're totally autocephalous now, but they were underneath the Serbian patriarch.
Yeah.
And you still have some kind of infighting. And so I'm pretty sure they schismed and said, no, recognize this as our own. And what's funny is when I got to Athos, the first place that I went to, I got to know this monks. Someone from our church connected me with them. So I chatted with him like, man, I probably chatted for like 4 hours. Nice. It was fun. It was cool. And he's English from England. So we got a totally based. We knew all about the banking system, you know, when COVID happened, the prime minister, NATO, New World Order, Charles Schwab. And he doesn't even watch stuff. I'm like, how do you know all this stuff?
The old ways.
Yeah, the old ways. The old ways. And it was funny because I asked him, I said, he got there in the mid 90s, I think, early 90s. Because I think Paisios was 96. Do you remember off the top of your head?
The same Paisios?
Yeah, he proposed
like 96, 95, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Mid 90s.
I know he got to me, and I just asked because I think Porphyrios was like 92 or 93, slightly earlier. Because I just asked, I was kind of like, you know, hey, so you've been here for a while. Like, have you gotten a chance to talk to some very holy people? And he's like, no, Porphyrios had proposed. He goes, I did meet with St. Paisios twice. I said, wow, what was that like?
Yeah.
You know, he's like, well, the first day I went there, he goes, at that time he was still maybe not, he'd only been on the mountain
Athos
for like 2 or 3 years.
So he's probably still a novice.
Yeah. He goes, but I had this young Montenegrin, guy from Montenegro.
Yeah, guy from Montenegro.
Who was a deacon. And it was also, I believe, a novice. And he's like, so we go to St. Paisios, and I said, I think we waited all day, 8 hours, or whatever. You know, all day we're waiting. We finally get a chance, and we chat for him for 15 minutes. And he's like, all St. Paisios was talking about geopolitics. Because we go in there, and he's like, and this is the monk telling me, this is like, okay, I wait 8 hours for you to tell me about how terrible it is what Montenegro and Serbia is doing. It's like, all right, cool, whatever. You know, I got to see St. Paisios. He goes like, I think he's like 3 or 4 weeks later. The
schism thing happened.
The schism, I think we should go back and look. He goes, the monk had left Montenegro and without a blessing, went back to Montenegro, became bishop.
Oh.
So like he's like St. Paisios knew exactly what this guy was going to go and do.
So he was talking to it.
Yeah, he's right like, and it was just funny because he's like, and I don't think he kind of knew. He wasn't privy to the whole situation. But then he said he did get to go back and chat with them, and he got more spiritual wisdom or whatever, all that stuff too. But I guess he was kind of highlighting on like, and he was one that gave me the stuff that I showed you with John Romani's.
Oh yeah, stuff. Right. You know, all like, these really nice like informational handouts and stuff that give you more info.
And he was just kind of highlighting like there, you know, and I guess it's funny because, you know, how much of an America, you know, like Ukraine, you know, like all the stuff we like knowing and getting involved in. And I would think that, you know, most of the monks would be like, dude, don't worry about that.
Mhm.
And he was kind of actually he's like, no, there's actually some things to be mindful about that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I thought going to Athos was the 2 monks that I probably got to chat with 3 or 4 monks for a while. And 2 of them were like totally up on, they're like, dude, this is terrible. There's only probably 6 or 7 monasteries left that I would go to because they're playing ball with the certain people. And he goes, no, we should be very mindful that this does not look good. They're like, we don't know how. They go, it's only a matter, both of them. I know at least the one, but I'm pretty sure the other one alluded to is like, how long till we have a woman on Athos? It's not gonna be long. Like, honestly, the way things are going was it sped up immensely these last couple of years. So which is funny how like like I went there and then still like Saint Saba. I didn't make it to Highlander, but I think he actually was at Saint Gregorio. Right? He was either at Saint Gregorio or Saint Dionisio. I could be wrong. Saint Saba. So it was again like these like breadcrumbs of like I learned about them, and then I went to Athos. The other thing that was interesting is where Saint Naum is buried. Did I tell you this, that I venerated? So I can't even tell you all the different relics. His body was there, and it was funny because he's in a monastery that's not really used anymore. In Ohrid still like Kosovo, so it's it's losing its Orthodox grip. And it was funny, and I feel comfortable sharing it. I wasn't sure if I should. They're like, hey, and you've probably heard this about multiple saints, like, hey, when you venerate, if you listen closely, sometimes you can hear their heartbeat. And I'm all into this, coming from the new age, and like I'm actually a doctor too. You know what I mean? Like, I know what heartbeat sounds like. I've actually listened to and and again, I just like but dude, I went up there, did my bows, and it was funny because a lot of people went up, they put their ear on for like a second and walked off. And I'm like, it takes a while to hear the heart. You know what I mean? Like scientifically speaking or whatever. And so I go up there and I put my good ear on for 3 or 4 seconds. And it was like pump, 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 pump.
Wow.
And again, it's one of those things where like I literally I didn't say anything, and I was like, it honestly sounded like a little kid's toy. Honestly, I'm like, dude, did someone like plant a little kid's toy? You know what I mean? Like, so I heard it, and it's kind of like any kind of experience you're like that. It's kind of when you first see the Mercy streaming icon, you're like,
all right, where's the pump? Where's
it? Yeah, like I'm just trying to let me take the experience in. I'm not going to judge, so I put my ear on, and I'm like. And so I venerate, I get up and I go outside and, and again, and in my head, I'm like, you're not in it, I'm not falling into
pre-less. Doubt, you've got all this stuff. And
I'm like, oh, look at me. And I kind of was like, waiting.
I
was like, and I'm like, and because I didn't know, is it a common experience? Is it not a common experience? Like, yeah, it's like 10% of people are like, no, it's a myth. It never happens. And so I kind of went outside and we were chatting and stuff. I was like, I was like, yeah, I've heard that you can. But I was like, and I just chatted with him. I'm like, man, I think I heard some, and I didn't want to be like, guys, I heard it. So like I kind of said something to a couple people, and they're like, dude, I didn't hear anything. And I was like, and I was like, I think I told maybe 5 people. Like, and we were hanging out like most people on the trip, and so I was like, I'm gonna go back. So again, and then because then I started like, well, you remember like the seashell thing? Oh, it's like, dude, you're just hearing blood rush through your ear.
You're hearing your own pulse or something.
And dude, my pulse right now is 88. This. My pulse, like, this was not my pulse. I know my pulse.
Yours would be faster.
Because and it's funny, again, I didn't think about that. I heard it, and then I was like, then I started rationalizing. I'm like, oh, it's mine. And then I was like, dude, what? Dude, when I heard it, it was like pump. It was like 50, 60 beats per
really
minute
low
kind of
beat.
Thing. So I went back in and I venerated and I couldn't hear anything.
Whoa.
So I was kind of like, I think that's what I kind of wanted to like. I wanted to be like, no, it was a special experience, like, you know what I mean, kind of whatever.
Well, we should practice discernment. Be careful not to get sucked into these things. I mean, I really loved. I think we've talked about it even here before, but like how Father David pointed that out with Saint Thomas the Apostle, where it's like everyone calls him Doubting Thomas. Kind of treat, and dude,
I'd have been first, and I'm with him.
I
said that for sure.
And it's really easy, like, because Christ even tells them, like, you've seen, but now you believe, and now you believe. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet still believe. And so it kind of feels like, oh, like he's being chastised for not believing. But Father David, I loved like his homily on it, where it's like he's practicing spiritual discernment, and it's like, remember who's telling him that Christ is returned And it's like, these are all his friends, all the ones that he's like suffered with and gone on this journey with them. It's like, I want to believe that, but unless I see it, like, and what I love is that Christ didn't just show up and lecture him. It's like, he said, come and see, like, touch my wounds.
Yeah.
And so it was like, let me show you, like, because you're resisting, or how, that's not the right, because you're discerning, and you're like holding back on getting over eager, like, I'm going to give you the fulfillment of what you've asked for. And so it's not that like, so we should doubt everything all the time, but it is this, like, it's good to, I think, to question these things and not be too eager for, like, it's a lot of, especially converts, like, we really get sucked into really wanting to have these like supernatural experiences. And so we'll hear like, it'll be like, oh, I had this dream, I'm sure it must have been this thing, and so now it's a miracle, and I'm very special. And so we have to be careful with that. But at the same, so I think it's healthier and this is just my opinion, so, but to be more like willing to doubt these things, not for the sake of going nothing miraculous happens, but more of just, let me make sure I'm testing this and I'm not getting deceived. I'm not being sucked into pre-lest, and
that's why I try and
falling for a trick.
I told you that. I try and tell people too. So I'm like, how crazy I am. Like, I mean, the other angle is like, you have these things happen and you don't say anything. I already think I'm special. I'm like, sure. Forgive me for my arrogance. Like, I'm already into, and I think that I think that I've had weird, and it's a double-edged sword. I've had weird experiences since I was little, and then being in the New Age. Yeah. I called you after I had the thing with St. John, right? Where I'm like, dude, I got $20 in my wallet. Yeah. Where'd that come from? That was objectively not there. It's like the verse is like, it can be, I'm special. This is a miracle. I am going crazy. Trust me, that's the one. That's the one I think of the most. I'm like, did I delude myself? Sure. Like, did this really happen? Or even with the heartbeat thing, I'm like, maybe I just deluded myself. Yeah. Like, sure. I'm pretty smart. I don't, sorry, I'm gonna be arrogant. I'm like, I'm pretty smart. I think I could trick myself. Everyone does. Yes. You know what I mean? Everyone tricks themselves. I did that a lot, especially like in my Protestant years, because I really longed for spiritual things. So I would, and it's weird to look back on that and be like, no, that really was me tricking myself into believing something that is. And how much of this stuff is in the mind? Like, really, when you become Orthodox and you're trying to discern truth, it's like, people have hallucinations. Like, the devil plays tricks. Oh yeah. And then I'm like, okay, well, if this is the devil, like, that's a pretty bad, you know what I mean? But you don't like, all these things can lean into pre-less or whatever. So I'm like, just trying to like write that middle ground. Like, hey, and there is, God does give those things for to me, like, like the $20 is like, I hope it's as edifying to other people as it's edifying to me. Yeah. And it's funny because, I don't remember, I think one of the monks on the Mount told me, he's like, we should be to the point where we're not surprised. Right. Right. I'm not though. I'm still like, what? I heard the heart, like, and then it was funny. I know we're running short on time to kind of wrap up some of the other kind of, what do I say? Things that aligned a lot, it's funny, like with Pantaleimon, one of the guys from our church went there and I forget, he was chatting about Pantaleimon a lot. I don't even think he went there. It was interesting. This person at our church just talked about Pantaleimon a lot. And I've never, there's certain saints you hear over and over again that you're like, I just don't pay much attention to. Right. And sorry, forgive me, but Pantaleimon's been one where his names come up a lot, especially in the Russian tradition. Like, I think I told you as I switched over from Antioch, like, St. Peter and Febroni, like, I didn't remember hearing about them. Oh, sure. And not that like we have enough saints in every jurisdiction. Sure. Of course. But it was just funny on the trip because, especially towards the end, Macedonia, like in that region, it's just like St. George. St. Pantaleimon was a lot. We talked about a lot. So a lot of the smaller temples were to him. And so then when I decided to go to Athos, right, at a guy from church, he connected me with some monks because I had no idea what I was doing. Luckily, Harizonis came with me too, a Greek speaker. Yeah. And so we didn't hear back from either of the monasteries, which is funny, as I thought that was just kind of how they worked. But when I talked to other people, like, no, I reached out to St. Pantaleimon Monastery, heard back. I reached out to St. Anskeet, heard back. I met another guy, Nicholas, who went to those places, which I'll chat about in a little bit. So I was only going to go for a couple of days, kind of a scouting trip. I've kind of told you I didn't really feel worthy or prepared or ready to be on arguably one of the most holy places on earth, you know. But I was close, and I was like, all right, if the Mother God opens up the door, and everything again worked out perfectly. I even got a car ride there, which was funny. A guy on the trip, I was going to have to like wait a couple. Our trip ended on a Monday, and I was going to have to bus on Tuesday from Skopje to Thessaloniki, and then I was going to have to go to Thessaloniki to Ornopolis and get picked. Like it was going to be. And then on the trip, there's a guy. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to Athos." He's like, "I'm going to get a car ride from Skopje on Sunday night. You want to go?"
Okay.
Sure. Right. You know. And what's funny though is he was actually going to St. Pantaleon's, go to St. Pantaleon's feast, which I didn't even, you know, I just went. I wasn't even thinking about feast days and all that. So I told him about our trip, and he's like, "Dude, Saturday's St. Pantaleon's feast. Friday, come to St. Pantaleon's for the thing. Don't go to this other monastery." I won't even say the other monastery. So I'm like, okay, well, I have St. Gregorio for the one day, Dionisio the other day, and they're on the south end of the peninsula. And what's funny is the north end, where the other monastery was. I probably wouldn't even be able to get there because you're supposed to take a different ferry from that side. That's all other conversation.
You'd have to go over the mountain to do it, which would be really difficult.
Yeah, the ferry in Ornopolis comes all the way down the south side and comes back. And there's 3 boats. It's all other conversation. And I think if you go on the north side, northwest side, there's another town. So, anyways, we get to the second day. I'm at St. Dionisio, and I'm hanging out with this monk in the evening. And I kind of told him, I go, oh, well, we couldn't decide to go to that monastery, go to St. Pantaleon's. And he's like, well, wait a minute. Why don't you go? There's an American monk in this hermitage just north of St. Anne's Skeet. You should go over there. And I was like, he goes, no. You really need to go out there. I was like, well, how do you get there? He says, well, first you got to take this boat here, and then you'll take this boat to St. Anne's Skeet. And then, to get up to St. Anne's Skeet, it's a 400-meter climb, take you about an hour and a half, blah, blah, blah. Then you're going to go past St. Anne's Skeet. Let me draw it out. And he took out this piece of paper. He's like, you're going to go left here, right here, left here. You'll see this thing. And then there'll be a well here. And then you got to make sure you go left, because if you go right, then you're going to go up the mount to like it's this all the way up.
Didn't he say like then you'll fall into despair?
He goes, you're gonna do it. You're gonna be hiking for 2 hours, and then you're gonna fall into despair, thinking you'll never get there, and then you'll get there. And I was like,
I don't know if I want to do that.
And I had Harizanis with it. And Harizanis, it's funny, he's really fit. He's 50, and I'm 35. You know, And I was like, dude, do you want to do this? And he's like, let me call. And so the monk takes Harizanis' phone, puts in the phone number, calls him. He answers in like 2 rings.
Wow.
Hey. Hello, and he's like, "Hey, this is Father so and so," and he goes, "Oh, well, what's going on?" He goes, "Da da 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 da." He's like, "Yeah, I'm having. We're gonna do an all-night vigil." He's like, "I know." He's like, "Can I?" He's like, "I can't. You know, I got stuff at the monastery, so I can't come up there." And he's like, "Well, I have this American here." He goes, "What? No, American? Where from?" I go, "Hey, Father, da da da," and he spoke very clearing English. He goes, "Go, come on up, Bob." And I go, "Well, I think we're gonna go over." He goes, "No." He goes, "If you don't come up now, then." It'd be I forget, divine providence. It'd be bad for you not to. It's like kind of like, okay,
well, I have to.
I'll come up there. So, and it was funny because St. Anne's feast was on that Thursday, and I remember feeling bad about that because the Catholic school that I was raised and baptized in was to St. Anne. So I was like, oh, I really should have tried to go to St. Anne's Skeet for her feast. I'd already planned on these other 2. So we figured it out. Get up to St. Anne's Skeet. We went in and venerated. I think they had. And this is what I'm saying. I can't even remember that they had a relic of St. Anne at the Skeet. Right. Then we go up. And so the saint, and again, you may help me with the Greek. The Greek, I think they say Gerontios, right? In America, we'd pronounce the G. I think Gerontios. Yes. And so he formed the St. Anne Skeet, I believe, 1200s. They got attacked by pirates, and then he moved north. And as he was so far away from the Skeet, he prayed to the Theotokos, and she opened up this spring, which I actually have water from downstairs.
Yes, that's right.
I want to give you some of that, some of the guys. But they were still kind of far away, and he had his disciples, so they prayed again, and then this other spring pops up, right? And then that's where he had his hermitage at.
Right.
Well, the story is that he and his disciples became lazy, and then that spring dried up. The Theotokos is like, I gave you the spring so you could labor more, pray more. Now you guys are goofing off. So
no more spring for you.
No more spring. So it's funny though. So on the way up though, we found, the spring was there. And so me and Harizanis went in and we loaded up some water. We go up to the top of the hermitage, and then, St. Eurondios's spot is there. There's kind of like a small house kind of built on there,
little cell or something. Yeah.
And it was funny. I met a Serbian monk from Chicago. This monk was from Nashville, Tennessee. I met, you know, I'm trying to be like not too talk, you know. I don't know how much I think it will. We'll see. I won't say anymore.
Sure.
So we're there though, and then they're like, "Hey, we're gonna do this all night vigil." And so there was probably 5 of us plus me and Harizanis when we showed up. And then by the end of the night, there was like 20 other monks.
Yeah.
Like you're talking 70 to 80. There was this monk. He maybe no way he was 25, 21, 22.
Yeah.
And do you remember where St. Porphyrius was?
Colivades? Yeah. Or is it?
No, not Colivades, like Colivades. There's the south side of the peninsula, the it's the K. This is like there's 3 Ks on the bottom of the mountain. But that's to my understanding where the how will I say that nicely? The hesychasts are usually in that area on the rocks and And so I met this like 25-year-old, like you know, maybe. And and he spoke English too. I think he was from somewhere on the East Coast.
Okay.
Right. So, you know, it's just interesting how I ended up on the mountain. There was a guy from Montana there. It's just interesting how we all got kind of brought together or whatever.
That's cool.
Right.
Yeah, I love that.
So we did the all-night vigil to St. Pantaleon. I also found out, I think I told you, it was St. Euryanthios's feast day that day.
Yeah.
Right. So it was St. Ian's feast day and then his feast day and then St. Pantaleon all in a row.
Nice.
So it was just like,
providential. Yeah. That's cool.
So then, that was my time in Athos. We run down, get on the boat. I met a guy from Jersey. I told you that guy baptized at Theophanies. Like, I'm going to Athos. So he was maybe late 20s.
Oh, wow.
And so he had run into all that group. He was actually staying at St. Anne's.
Oh, cool.
So I got to hang out with him in Thessaloniki. Get to Thessaloniki. We go to St. Demetrius's is there.
Yeah.
So he's a Mer streamer. Right. So his whole relics are there. Go down into the catacombs where supposedly he was martyred. Right. He was like in this, it was a bathhouse. They converted over. Eventually into a church. And so like they supposedly he was speared to death inside that little thing. So threw a prayer rope in there and then went and saw St. Gregor Palamos. There's actually a Hagia Sophia there. And is it St. Theodore Empress? Right. She was the one that ended
Theodora.
Theodora. She ended the iconoclasm.
Yes. There's the Empress Theodora.
Yes. So the Hagia Sophia there, to my understanding, it was the first mosaic that was made after that. It was in Thessaloniki. At that
the first post iconoclast
mosaic made.
Mosaic.
So that's cool. Went there. So it was funny too. When the other monks I was chatting with at Gregorio, we were chatting about, you know, what were you at in your life? And I was single. And he's like, "Oh, okay. You know, what do you think about?" You know, I was like, "I don't think I do the monk thing." You know. And then he's like, "Oh, okay. Who have you been praying to then? Who have you been praying to then?" And I was like, "Well, you know, Saint Xenia." He goes, "Oh, Minos, Saint Minos. You need to pray to Saint Minos." And I was Saint Minos. And it was funny because everyone was like, "Saint Minos." And you know, they're he's like, "That's for lost items." Goes, yeah. He goes, but you know, it's just funny because the guy's like, "No, St. Minos for praying a partner. You need to pray to St. Minos." I was like, "Okay."
All right.
And then it was funny then because he has a church in Thessaloniki.
So nice. So you got to go actually.
Right. So we got to go
his temple dedicated to him. That's cool.
So that was cool. I spent a lot of time there too. I'm trying to think what else in Thessaloniki. I went to the place. I'm gonna pronounce it. How did I pronounce it? It's with the BL. I think it'd be Vlatadon.
Vlatadon, maybe. Yeah.
It's VLAT.
Vlat. Yeah.
ADON.
Vlatadon. Yeah. Okay.
So that's supposedly, I think it's Jason, right? From Thessaloniki.
Oh yeah, Saint Jason. Yeah.
Yes. I'm pretty sure that they claim that's where Paul came and preached.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So then I was at the monastery where Paul was at. Saw the rotunda, right, where it's dedicated to St. George now, so you can see some very old. I don't know if they were redone or whatever.
Sure, but really, really old mosaic
and huge, right? Like I don't know how big the Hagia Sophia is, but it was funny because I see people go with Hagia Sophia. I know it's newer or it's been renovated or whatever. It's in Constantinople. It's funny because I know I had a friend on Instagram who was just there and they were taking pictures inside that, like, and it was smushed.
Yeah.
Me and Harizanis were the only people in the rotunda.
Wow. That's
only
awesome.
one.
Yeah.
I walked in, it was empty,
Uh-huh.
like this huge, ancient
giant church. Yeah.
I'm like, awesome. There's no one here.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Crazy. You know what I mean? So
Tickle
yeah,
my throat.
Thessaloniki, I would definitely recommend.
Yeah.
You know, just for those, like, you could spend, and there was a couple other churches we didn't make it. Oh, went out to St. John the Theologian monastery, where St. Paisios is buried. So we went out there for that. And did that was right before Dormition for them. So there was
right, because they're new calendar. Yeah.
So yeah, just tons of grace. And then I came back, and then oof, it was tough. You know what I'm saying? It was just like to be hit with, and again, like I forgot even at Dionysios and at Gregorio, the amount of relics that they brought out. I really need to I have to Google it, because Arjonis was trying to explain. He's like, Skull of St. Fotini. What's St. Basil's name? Is it Emilia?
Which one? Sorry.
St. Basil the Great.
His mom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Emilia?
Yeah, St. Amelia.
Yes. And because she,
the mother of saints, 5 of her children are saints. Yeah.
So they had, I think, her hand, you know, it was just like, and I don't know how to say that nicely, but it was just like, they were big names, but then also like, oh, yeah, St. Amelia. That's the St. Basil's mom.
Sure. There's some that are more well known than others.
Yes. You know, there was kind of one of those things, but it was just overwhelming, because like, oh, St. Amelia.
Yeah.
And then there would be like a St. Fotini, St. John Chrysostom. I think there was like a, I can only remember so many of them.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
I kind of skipped over that too. I think Saint Saba, you know, he when the Turks came in, they got his body and they burned him all the way down to his hand.
Right.
And I believe then at Milisave, his hand was still there. So the other thing that was funny, last kind of like, we didn't even get to the commemoration book.
Yeah. Maybe we'll put a pin in that for next time. Yeah.
The one thing that I loved was that how many people were excited that when I was married, like, oh, Saint Seraphim Rose, right? Oh, Elder Ephraim, Saint John Maximovich was everywhere.
Yeah,
Saint John Maximovich, literally everywhere, right? So one of the things is like telling people, they're like, you've seen Seraphim Rose's body, you know what I mean? You've been to Elder Ephraim's body, you know what I mean? So like the great, you know, it's just funny because I'm here and I'm like, wow, look at all these relics, look at all these beautiful things. They're like, you guys, right? America, you guys have all these things over there, you know what I mean? So and
they have all these new saints.
I forget what the tour guide said. He goes, if you just tell people you've been to Platina, they'll buy you dinner, kind of thing. Like just tell them like you were close. Like
to
it's
Father
funny,
Seraphim Rose.
Because it seems, and I kind of knew that originally, like we, have been kind of, how do I say that, lack of a better term, kind of importing everything. And like Saint Seraphim, or sorry, Father Seraphim, glorified in Georgia.
Yes. Blessed Seraphim.
Blessed Seraphim. He was kind of the first, you know, an Elder Ephraim, a lot of the Athonites could claim him. Right. Like Seraphim Rose, first American born, like
he's an American,
right? And then that the world was starving for his things, right? Like the translations into Russia like sold out, were like crazy, and then and same thing in the Balkans. They're like, that man was, you know, prophetic, similar to like, you know, and I know that, but at the same time, you know, especially recently with you know, with COVID and like Paisios, right? There's a lot of like people quoting him, American will behold, like end times, like that. So it was very edifying, right? For them to be like, wow, you've been to you've been to Florence, you've been to, you know, you've seen Elder Ephraim's body, like, oh, St. Joseph's skull is there. I'm like, I guess we are kind of spoiled, you know what I mean? Like all things. But I will say that back to your going all the way back to the Serbian thing too. It is interesting that, you know, their culture, it is very engraved. But because that, it's funny. And even I think our friend at church will say that, the converts have zealousness, the credos kind of are,
they have patience but lack of zeal, and the converts have tons of zeal and lack patience.
Because I was, you know, we're at the monastery and there were like, you know, people in shorts and stuff.
Oh,
the women
being really casual about it.
No head coverings. We were all, you know, we're ROCOR, right? So like, you know, so that was kind of interesting because many of the people that I met were like, you guys, it warms our heart so much that you're here and you take this so serious. He goes, a lot of the people in Greece, I don't know what it sounded like in the 1800s in Russia. They sounded like that. Like, no, look at our cities. Look what we've done. We have it coming. It's going to come. We deserve it. And God help us.
Yeah.
Like the Theotokos, she knows we have abandoned her.
Mhm.
We've abandoned, look at the Holy Mountain. The Holy Mountain, this is her garden, and the
Mhm.
way we're not staying to the traditions and the way that it
Mhm.
should be, it's coming, right?
Yeah,
And
Lord
it's
have
not only that. And he's like, our saints have been saying it, Paisios, like, the
Mhm.
national ID card, da, da, da,
Yeah.
da. So, I have to leave on a grim mark. But then
Sure.
at the end, I felt very invigorated because, there are some of the saints that we have talking about America being, I was like, that's what's going to do it, an American monarch. Like,
Right.
that's how we get it,
Uh-huh.
that's what's going to happen, man. We're going to get an American monarch, and
Uh-huh.
then things are going to come back around.
We'll see.
Make
Yeah.
America,
God willing.
billions
Yeah.
will be baptized. Man.
Yes, that's right.
Billions should be baptized. So,
Yeah. Come what may.
all right. Thanks for letting me ramble.
Dude, it was great. Thanks for talking all about this awesome trip you got to
It was
go
great.
on. Yeah.
And like I said, I would say that moving forward, I was not mentally prepared coming back.
Mhm.
I was very slothful. I honestly, is probably the worst I felt spiritually.
Mhm.
My highs and lows,
Yeah.
right? I didn't really take that in consideration when I came back.
Mhm.
Not only coming off of like a high speed train, but then I lacked all my discipline, my nighttime
Sure.
prayers. Like I'm just now probably
Getting your feet back under you.
almost my prayer life is almost back to where it was.
Yeah.
Dude, and again, like to defend, I took communion every day for like 2
Mhm.
weeks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I
What a
did,
blessing. Yeah.
and again, it was just kind of, I won't say I took it for granted, but it was very much just like cruise
Yeah.
control.
Mhm.
Like that became my normal. And then to kind of step off and like, you guys say your prayers alone,
Mhm.
get to
No.
church.
Yeah.
And I forget, like, oh, it's Sunday, single guy, I'm not,
Sure.
I can go to sleep, like
Uh-huh.
those thoughts
Sure.
for sure came back.
Come back with a
Bro,
vengeance.
Thessaloniki,
Yeah.
I was full of it, dude. Thessaloniki, I was full of demons. Like,
Mhm.
I got off the, like, and I'm not trying to be that guy, but
Mhm.
I'm back in the city.
Mhm.
I'm alone. I have this hotel. I can,
Yeah.
I can go and do whatever I want.
Mhm. Sure.
Versus like I was on the bus with all these people,
Yeah. You're
like
surrounded by other Christians.
yeah, I'm not going to do anything.
Mhm.
I could, but it's way harder when there's like,
Right.
dude,
You'd have to sneak out or do something. Yeah. The amount of energy you'd have to put into it. Whereas,
in the
Yeah.
embarrassment, like if I wanted
Yeah.
to do something, and like then I was in Thessaloniki, and I'm not trying to. I
Mhm.
don't think I'm that comparative where I was as a degenerate. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like,
sure.
but it was kind of like, dude, you have the freedom to do whatever you want,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
In Thessaloniki now, like what? Go to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was good.
Good.
Appreciate you guys letting me share with you.
Yeah.
I know we're probably running up on time. I got my doorbell ringing.
Mhm.
Yeah, we didn't even get to. Sorry.
No, that's good.
commemoration
That means
books
we
and
got
all
more
that.
content to come. And yeah, we'll try and keep up a good pace,
Yeah.
build up a good backlog.
Do I get to
too.
humble you too?
Oh yeah, always.
I'm pretty sure and it may be a myth.
Uh-huh.
This Byzantium.
Baisios. Yeah.
Have you heard this?
I have actually. Yeah. The name of the city before it became Constantinople.
Yes.
Baisios or whatever.
Yeah.
However you say that. But yeah.
Latin as its original Greek word.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, whatever like that. That's what I remember hearing or reading was that when Andrew went there, it was Byzantium.
Mm,
And then, but I think you're right. Then the scholar, it was kind of like,
yeah, they used it as a pejorative term, and
we need to chat about that.
Yeah,
because the Greek thing we didn't, right?
Right, and yeah, then plenty more to talk about, like liturgics and the typicon and all sorts of cool stuff. But yeah, I think that gives us a lot of ammo for next.
Plenty of ammo.
Episodes.
Thanks for joining us all.
Yeah.
What do you want to say? Anything? Wrap up?
Yeah, just
Next time.
I'd say a big one. Like we'll touch on commemoration books next time. But in the meantime, if you know what those are and you don't do them, talk to your priest and do them, please. And I'll talk about more why that's important later. But and
you can leave us questions, comments below. We always check them out.
Yes.
We always enjoy them.
And any topics or anything that are interesting or anything you want us to expand on, that's always welcome. We're kind of throwing darts at the board and just hitting what we can. And so just if there's anything in particular that's interesting, let us know.
Yep.
And you want to do the extra.
Until next time, stay vigilant, my friends, and
God bless.